Hello and welcome to the Roundtable Podcast. Today's going to be a freestyle format, so we are going to just allow the whole community to participate, and we're just going to do a casual chill session and see where it goes. So welcome to all my good friends. We got Queen, we got NSA, we got Mech recording for us. Again, thanks to Ainsoft for building us the website today. And that being said, guys, does anyone want to get the ball rolling here with either something that you want to talk about?
Yeah, we gotta give a shout out to our handlers at Fort Meade, Maryland, guys. Hey guys, hey Colonel.
Hi Colonel, hi whoever watches us from the military and the intelligence community, if anyone, nobody knows. So, anybody got anything on their mind?
No, everyone's too shy.
NSA and everybody, did you see that the Pentagon makes $32 trillion of accounting adjustments every year? So they essentially subversively or secretly reallocate $32 trillion in a year. That's what the article said.
That seems a little odd. So, like, with fractional reserve lending and things that are going on to the Pentagon, they can print money and just loan it to things through contractors and other stuff. But I don't know how that would filter through government-approved sources and things like that. Because the way it works is like you literally put in $100,000 in a bank and borrow $1 million type stuff with other corporations. 70%. 70% of the money that goes through the Pentagon is going to contractors.
So check this out. I'm posting the article. So the headline is from Bloomberg.com. Pentagon racks up $35 trillion in accounting changes in 1 year. Now, how much money does the entire GDP of the United States in 1 year?
Not that much. I don't. There's only.
Yeah. Sorry.
I forget. I don't have the numbers right.
It literally says the Pentagon made $35 trillion in accounting adjustments last year alone, a total that's larger than the entire U.S. economy. So doesn't that mean that they're...
Sorry, I thought you were done. My bad.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna add that our GDP is $19.39 trillion as of 2017.
So I don't know exactly what accounting adjustments mean, but the way I read this is they're changing their budgets to allocate huge quantities of money to something else under a false pretense. That's how I read it.
So in this, it's saying they're doubling, tripling, and quadrupling the counting of the same money as it got moved between accounts. So actually, kind of just what I said. That's
interesting.
Weird. Yeah, I wonder who holds the accounts, like what banks are holding the Pentagon's money when it gets approved for use and stuff like that. I don't know. That'd be something to look into.
But you've heard about unidentified special access projects, right?
Unacknowledged special access, yeah.
Use apps, yeah. And what are those, if you could tell us?
Those are projects that have black budget funding and no trace to origin and all that stuff. So it could be shell companies that they set up, running the operations through the shell companies and private contractors, all kinds of stuff. They got real crafty with hiding money after 9/11 because they remember Rumsfeld's 2.3 trillion missing, and then boom, the towers fell.
Well, not just the towers fell, but they crashed a plane into the accounting department of the Pentagon where that missing money was being investigated and destroyed all the files.
But supposedly Building 7 had financials in it as well. I don't know if you're aware, but they do. This is a shadow government trick they do. The Timothy McVeigh Unabomber, or not Unabomber, rather Timothy McVeigh, the federal building that he bombed had all the records for all the soldiers that had the Iraq War syndrome, that had the vaccines and all the crazy symptoms of all the shit that was happening to them. There were about 400,000 records. Boom, gone. That created no liability, free from all this money that they had to spend on it type stuff. So, and apparently there was a leaker. I'll find the video later, but it was some guy that he was claimed to be Black Ops and got offered $3 million for the gig and didn't do it or some shit.
And Timothy McVeigh was having mind control as well.
What was that, Ainsoft? Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, Timothy McVeigh was saying that he was mind controlled and there was brainwashing involved. And after that caught him.
Yeah, that's a big old weird one. Like he wanted to be special forces, right? But he couldn't hack it in special forces. So apparently the CIA recruited him up after that, and then led into this project. But they saved themselves probably billions in liability from the soldiers, and saved them face for ruining, a bunch of soldiers' lives.
Did you guys?
It's like
hear
the
about
anthrax
this?
vaccine stuff is what it was from, by the way. That and some other vaccines that they were testing on them, and chemical weapons that was being used. The other one was, what was the weapon? Depleted uranium shells were being used, and it was causing issues too.
Did you guys hear about the $3 million bounty that Iran put on Trump? That was a confirmed story just today. Well, this is a new one. It was only a day old, this news. I think the first bounty turned out to not be a true story, but this one is. I find it kind of silly. Yeah. Because nobody's going to kill a U.S. president for $3 million, I don't think. I mean, I guess some cartel member or something might try, but they're never going to succeed. And actually, a cartel member wouldn't try because they know that would bring so much heat on their cartel. Like, if a cartel assassinated a president, that cartel would be wiped out.
Well, and if it got linked to Iran in any shape or form, I mean, they would fucking just B-52s full of nukes, dude. Like,
well, did you guys hear that the missile that hit the American bases turned out to be like a Russian missile, a Russian-made missile, and also the missile that shot down the Ukrainian plane and killed all those Canadians or whatever? Also in Iran, it also was Russian-made, and so
the Cold War. That's what the movie, the war with what was the movie? He was gun running basically, and he was selling Russian weapons to African warlords and stuff like that.
I know what you're talking
about. Stuff like that. Yeah. Nicolas Cage, yeah. But after the Cold War, they had a fucking surplus of so much shit. So and Iran's an ally to Russia, so it's not unnatural for them to have Russian-made weapons. You know what I mean?
Yes, but
are you talking about the movie Lord of War?
Lord of War was the movie, yeah.
Such a good movie. I'd like to watch that on the server. Or
some brown.
People.
It called so much attention to, like, I didn't even know that the U.S. had done that or had been in that situation before, and the real, like, eye-opener for me was that federal agent trying to take him down, and then the ending scene, basically, and everything that transpired.
Yeah, the shadow government general just walking in, tapping him on the shoulder, let him off. Oh, I ruined the movie.
Yeah, he's like, oh, someone's going to come in here that outranks you, and there's the general with all his ranks on his chest, like, oh, you did a great job, but we don't need you to do anything anymore. Like, that's fucking crazy that actually happens.
Yep. But, like, yeah, that's weird. But yeah, so Iran having those weapons as surplus, that doesn't surprise me. Like in the movie, though, the Brown, you remember that? They took the bullets, and they took the gunpowder out of the bullets and mixed it with cocaine and snorted it, because the nitroglycerin in the bullet, in the actual gunpowder, is supposed to get you high or something.
Yeah, they mixed gunpowder, but I can't imagine you could do that for very long before you died. I would imagine you'd have a stroke pretty quick. Because if it's nitroglycerin or something, probably the idea is it dilates your blood vessels, and then the cocaine goes even faster into your system, but at what cost to your sinus cavities and brain, I can't even imagine. People do some crazy shit.
Especially gunpowder back then. Fucking probably terrible.
Have you guys seen the documentary Cannibal Warlords of Liberia by Vice?
No, but I've seen the one on Netflix where it's about this one on humor around other countries, and they go to Liberia. You're talking about General Butt?
Yeah. If anyone hasn't seen the documentary, you can see it on YouTube, Cannibal Warlords of Liberia. And it's, this guy, General Butt Naked, and he literally ran around naked around this country without any clothes on. Obviously, that's what naked means. And just killing so many people and eating babies and eating people's hearts and eating babies' hearts, and like, it's just absolutely insane. And he wasn't even the only one. There was like other people like him. It's like absolute worse than Mad Max, like Crazy Town, bad shit.
And he's still alive, and he's like a converted Christian now, and he's still alive.
I don't think I believe it though. Like, I think he's full of it. I think he just eventually the situation changed. He wasn't able to keep running around killing people, so in order to avoid execution or whatever, he was presented as some kind of reformed pastor who's going around spreading the salvation of Jesus, but I'm sure he's just an evil person to the core who is just doing this to save his own ass.
Yeah, probably.
Anywho, what's the news from outer space? Anything new in exopolitics?
Outer space? No.
Yeah.
I don't really pick up anything new anymore. They don't really share any information on me. They're scared of giving me anything because I can still get yes or no questions out of them sometimes.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, they lie, so it's really just whatever. Plus, they have the whole concept of remote viewing and synthetic telepathy and Project Majestic to discredit people like this. Nobody's really going to believe me anyway if I said something, right? They got the whole communities of the world's brainwashed that ETs aren't using EMF weapons on our bodies and like testing on us. It's kind of funny, but they'll figure it out. Intergalactic planetary.
Yo, Paul, are you there? Paul, you ain't there.
Oh, I got something on my mind too, because it's just in relation to the psyops and stuff. So the Pentagon a couple of years ago, when Hillary was Department of State, they got pinched. They got pinched for 5,000 employees signing up for child porn websites, but only 268 really actually signed up. Apparently, I don't know if it was by phishing or whatever. But I was wondering what your thoughts on that. Do you think it was a foreign government and they just dropped the case because they knew it was bullshit? Or do you think, because, I mean, that's just proof in the pudding that that's what they use for blackmail to try and get leverage on these officials.
Okay, wait, so what's the story? There was a CP ring and they scooped up people's data and then used it for blackmail?
No, there's an article by The Guardian about the Pentagon getting under investigation for child pornography, and there were 5,000 people pinged on it. Whether or not all of them signed up for the actual website, but apparently a couple hundred actually did. And I would assume it's an intelligence operation to try and get leverage on these people, obviously, because of the Department of Defense. But who would have done it if is the question type stuff? Was it our own CIA? Was it foreign?
Yeah, well, I mean, it could be any number of people involved in a blackmail op like that, but usual culprits be CIA, Mossad, whatever. How do I not know what the equivalent of the KGB is under Putin's Russia? I'm not sure what they even call it. TRU.
GRU.
GRU. Okay, yeah, I should have known that. Would you know what it stands for?
Gorbachev. No, I have no idea.
So point being, Russians invented the idea of what's called compromat. I mean, I'm not saying they invented it. It probably goes back to ancient China or something, but which is that you gather blackmail info on people as the number one currency. So it's not money, right? Because you can bribe people. You might give someone $100, $1,000, $100,000, $100 million, and he could do something for you. But if you have damning intel on him and proof that he did something really bad, then that's even more powerful of a motivator than money. Because some people don't need money, but nobody wants to go to jail. So the strongest possible thing to have is compromising material. And ever since then, Mossad, CIA, GRU, all the different intel companies or corporations or whatever organizations are involved in honeypots and trying to get people to have gay sex if that's adequate, or have a drug problem, or whatever the hell they do.
Hassie brings up a perfect point. So deepfakes, right? Obama came and warned us about it a little bit ago. They've had this tech in the military for about 20 years. They could spoof the voice of stuff. There's talks of Colin Powell being tricked. He was talking to a Russian general when it was just them deepfaking him. So like there's they have these abilities of creating total fake videos, movies, even pictures. So like when Trump got shown the video of that raid on that terrorist that went the other day, I was like, I wonder how much of that they deepfaked out of that. You know what I mean? A little wag the dog type shit.
Well, the deepfakes will change everything. Because if you can make a deepfake that looks real to people, that's one thing. If you can make a deepfake that can't even be analytically determined to be a deepfake and is therefore actually indistinguishable from reality, then there is no more truth anymore that will be knowable.
There's got to be watermarks on it somehow. I mean, there's got to be ways. I'm sure the NSA's figured that one out so they can counter it if it happens. But they'll still be running around idiots in like the FBI and stuff. So like if there's other countries that want to fucking target an American, they could just make a deepfake of something and send it to the FBI and get that person fucked up. Like these people are doing this. It's crazy.
Well, and it's not even necessary. Sorry. We got to be real careful because when you or anyone else talks at the same time, we're getting echo through your mic, NSA. So everyone will try and be quiet not to talk when NSA is talking and vice versa. So it makes a little feedback. But, it's not even necessary to use a deepfake to create someone doing something bad. You could simply hack into their computer or phone and put something on it, or even steal their phone, like physically take it and like crack the password on it and then download things. So like, it's very easy to just assassinate someone's character through hacking or through, if you like, imagine if you tell Putin, Putin says he wants to fuck over some person for some reason he either can't or doesn't want to kill the person. He could just get his hackers to hack into that person's computer remotely. Easily done, right, for expert people, and then download whatever illegal stuff onto it, and then call them and report them to the police, and do that all so easily. And
yeah,
so
well, and that's part of our fallacy of our police state is it's built up in such a way that they have all these guys and these white knights sitting here that are like, looking into things that are real bad and stuff, but then they get tricked by these idiots in the back end, and it's like puppet master shit. They're pulling strings, just like they want to get rid of a dissident or a hippie that they don't like or anything else. They just go and fuck with them. And, like you just said, do all that stuff. In the CIA Vault leaks, it was called Marble. Marble was an ability for them to spoof the code so that it would look like it would come from another country. So they're sitting there marbling this code to fuck with people and making it look like it's from an adversary or something. It's total fucking crazy shit, man. These guys are just out of their mind.
Wow. Well, Surprise has arrived. Welcome, Surprise.
Thank you for giving me my tardiness, vehicular malfunction, and
not a problem.
Dipshittery of half drivers.
No problem, man. Epstein had to go to bed, so we just are doing a freestyle podcast.
Yeah, he told me he had to get up at 6, and he was getting cranky, so.
We can do that one another day. We're going to record another one tomorrow. So you got any naval intel for us, Surprise? What's new in the oceans?
You'd have to give me I'd have to collect my thoughts on that. I'm still really
Have you heard about you got some noise coming through your mic, but have you heard about the blob, the giant heat wave in the ocean that's killing all the birds? Does that filter through?
Fucking El Nino type shit?
That I did not have.
It's called the blob, and it's a gigantic patch of very heated water in the ocean that has killed like hundreds of millions of birds. It's like the largest mass die-off of birds ever, and it's happened just like in the last few days. So this news came through. But it's a gigantic oceanic heat wave, and I mean, this is a scary topic, but I don't know if you guys saw, it says like the ocean is heating at a rate of 3 Hiroshima bombs per second or something like that. So right now the ocean is just superheating, and that surely is not good.
That hurt, that one.
Yeah, well, so we have a... Sorry. Well, I was going to say the El Nino thing and the El Nino and the weather patterns that they have every 10 years is something, a similar pattern. I wonder if it has any link to that, or maybe it's just a super El Nino or something.
Well, who knows, but it's something to keep an eye on, and hopefully it doesn't just continue unabated indefinitely, because that can't be sustainable.
Yeah, I wonder if it flies over Navy ships and they just like sweat their asses off or notice.
Here's a question for whoever, but Surprise. Do you think there's any significant likelihood of like major naval engagements ever happening again in like, between like world-class superpowers, just with crazy like battleships, just like blowing the shit out of each other with cannons? Like, is that going to happen?
Oh yeah, that's the type of that's the only foreseeable major interstate confrontation I can see is focused mostly on the China Sea. I mean, of course, it's going to be much longer range.
Dude, I bet your boys are itching to fire off some railgun rounds. They got $25,000 tungsten rounds on those things, and they travel like.
The railgun gives me this. I want that.
You're cutting in and out a little bit, Surprise. I don't know if you can maybe leave, rejoin, or anything, but it's a little hard to hear you.
All right, let me try.
Yeah, that railgun is sweet, man. And I don't know if you saw, but the manufacturer of AK-47, what is it, Andrei Kalishnikov or something? Yeah, sorry, surprise. I was just saying the railgun is a crazy weapon. And someone told this to me once. It might have been Dr. Weird. He explained to me the difference, if there is one, between a gauze gun and a railgun. Is this the same thing? It's like an electromagnetic projectile that moves like absurdly fast, right?
I don't know what a gauze gun is. I know there's two types of electromagnetic artillery. So you've got the coil that you run the charge through a coil that wraps around the barrel, and then of course a railgun is, as it implies, a rail of this electromagnetic charge. Puts the
Like
projectiles in between.
it's like Superman the Ride, how that works, but like way more advanced.
When China got it first, China already has a battleship armed with railguns, and nobody else does. And it says this railgun, this electromagnetic weapon, will destroy like a battleship or a destroyer in a single shot. It'll just blow it the fuck up, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, there's not going to be. It's going to be very hard to get that close, though. I mean, with air cover, ship ballistic missiles, I mean, it's a great weapon. That's the best offset artillery developed, but I don't see many railgun duels in the future.
That's more for like when you send the ships towards the coastal towns type shit, because it can shoot in pretty far. And the kinetic damage. Yeah, the kinetic damage from those is massive. Like, well, you've heard the concept of rods of God, right? Just launching fucking tungsten rods from outer space to just create like a mini nuke. Like the
Thor program, I think, was called.
It's not even a mini nuke, man. They call those weapons continent breakers. If they drop a large enough tungsten rod, they could just destroy like the entire Eurasian landmass, like all of Russia or all of America in one shot could be destroyed by one rod from God. It's just efficient how much payload in terms of titanium, and it just drops like an asteroid, like the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs, but made of pure metal, so even stronger. And you can literally crack the continental landmass with it.
Imagine if you fucking launch one right at the San Andreas Fault, just launch California into the ocean.
Dude. You just cut it in half. The rod of God would just cut it straight in half.
Right.
It's pretty nuts. And for all we know, they already have them. Like, what do you guys think about this WikiLeaks thing? There's a WikiLeaks document. I posted it before, right? You can find it still hosted on WikiLeaks website now. And it literally says, Russian base, I think it says U.S. base on the moon destroyed by Russia. Yeah, that's what it says. U.S. base on the moon destroyed by Russia. This WikiLeaks document says there was a secret U.S. base on the moon that Russia shot with like a missile or something. And I don't know if it's true or not, but you can still see the article there. Just search WikiLeaks moon base.
That doesn't hold water for me, because there were talks before Trump's Russiagate crap that we were working with Russia to have a base on the moon together. Every person that we launched to the ISS in the last couple of years has been on a Russian rocket. Like, our relationship with them wasn't that bad. They wanted to play this fucking KGB meddling game and blow it out of proportion because they really don't like Trump, and that's what they ruined international relations with that shit. It's kind of annoying. Because like a majority of the technocrats and the intelligent guys and stuff like that, they don't want fucking war. They just know that these fucking contractors need their fear porn to keep people anxious and spending money on it. Anyway, so I don't know. I haven't heard that though. But like on the WikiLeaks too, there's some interesting WikiLeaks from Edgar Mitchell. If you go to WikiLeaks through Edgar Mitchell through the Hillary emails, he's talking to John Podesta about from Quantrek is his company, and he discusses off-worlders and like the treaties and all this other stuff that they're talking about. There's lots of discussions on it.
Well, my analysis of it would be this, right? If the moon landings were all real, and I believe that they probably were, even though I do believe the original moon landing footage was clearly faked, the missions, I guess, must have happened, and at least maybe some of the later ones did. I'm sure maybe all of them did. I mean, I don't know. But there was some weird anomalies with the footage, but that doesn't necessarily mean the mission didn't actually happen. But if they were able to go to the moon successfully that many times, that easily, that long ago, then it's just, to me, it's strategically, tactically, and logically impossible that they would have successfully gone to the moon and back however many times the Apollo missions did. And then just like, now we're just not going to do anything with this. Like, we went to all this trouble, all this incredible amount of fucking resources were spent to get there, And then we're like, no, we're not going to do anything. We just got here. That was it. That was the whole point. No, you don't spend that much money going somewhere unless you're going to do something there. And they do something. They have bases there. I mean, I've posted these NASA photos, and if these NASA photos are authentic, which they certainly seem to be, then there's clearly artificial bases on the moon. There's just no other interpretation of what you're seeing. Like, there's literally one that's like a sharp, perfect triangle with like articulating like light spots and dark spots. Like, for example, like those yellow and black striped lines you see in industrial context, or a sequence of lights and then unlighted spaces. But it's clearly a fucking either human or alien base. There's just nothing else it can be.
Yeah, well, and so like then we get into like Corey Goode secret space program stuff. Like, he's a total fucking disinfo agent, but I do believe there is a secret space program going on. Like, if you watch the videos from when Buzz and Neil Armstrong land and they sit there in front of the news conference, they had this solemn look on their face. We could attribute that to like, you know, gravity sickness or whatever from coming back, which I could assume have an effect. But they were just like solemn. But every time Buzz Aldrin gets asked, you know, like, remember he punched out the fucking journalist? Sorry.
And what if I have a theory that Buzz Aldrin was what's it called? Brainwashed to think, or be even put in a simulation to think that he actually went to the moon, but he never did.
What is that theory drawing from?
From the fact that, like, anytime somebody questions him or questions what goes on, he gets visibly angry and mad at somebody questioning that. Also, the fact that, like, if you look at current society, right, the concept of group denialism is very, very prevalent, where whole groups of people deny that something happened. And if somebody says, well, hey, here's some evidence saying that it did, the entire group ostracizes and ridicules that person. So then that person is less likely to come forward with those thoughts and ideas, as are other people with the same thoughts and ideas.
Yeah, but if I did all that training and put all that time in to do this amazing thing, and someone's like, nah, you filmed it in Arizona, I'd punch you too. It doesn't have to be a simulation. I mean, Occam's razor.
Well,
Okay,
and
all right. So when it comes to the moon landing, there's two things I'd like to bring up. One is a famous interview when the first astronauts who supposedly went to the moon, and they had the only one press conference. And they're all sitting up there, and if you watch this, you know, they do body language analysis of it, and these guys their body language is so fucking strange. They look depressed, they look scared, they look furtive, they look suspicious, they look guilty. Not suspicious, but like resigned, sad, traumatized, right? They just got back from the moon. Supposedly the mission was a complete success. It's supposed to be the amazing mission, successful to the moon. And if you haven't watched this, just search on YouTube, search Apollo astronauts press conference body language, and just watch that whatever video comes up. And they're clearly hiding something. They're clearly lying. They're clearly scared. They're clearly depressed. They're clearly sad. None of it makes any sense.
Sorry that you're done. You want my theory on it? I think, judging because I'm, you know, a contactee here, and if they've been here, I think there was a 2-minute gap when they landed on the moon between us and between the world and them, and they blocked out 2 minutes. And I think they saw something, they freaked out, and they talked about it for a few minutes, and it just scared the shit out of them. I think the aliens, if they were out there, scared the shit out of them. But the reason why Buzz would get so pissed off, he's a fucking hero, dude. The motherfucker is a hero. Like, the truest definition of a hero. Like, he brought humanity. He became an extraterrestrial. He set foot on an extraterrestrial body. He will be remembered in the annals of history forever. Type shit.
I had more to my theory than to just or more to my theory than just Buzz Aldrin himself. But yeah.
Well, the other thing I wanted to mention was this. When they interview them, and I'm sorry if you want to continue with that, Queen, please do. But also, there's a time when they say, what were the stars like on the moon? They asked this to the astronaut, and he says, you know, what was it like seeing the stars? And he goes, I can't recall whether or not I saw any stars while I was on the moon. That's what he says. Now, think about this. If you were on the moon, there's literally nothing to see other than the black sky and or the stars. Now, I would assume that being out on the moon, the stars would be unbelievable, like completely different than on Earth, because there's no light pollution, There's no atmosphere. And if you've ever been out to like deep Canada, like I was when I was a kid, before the light pollution, I guess, was as bad or something. I don't know why the stars got less clear as I got older, but when I was a kid, it was stunning. Like you get dizzy looking at the sky. Now, I would assume if you were on the moon, that would be amazing. Oh, sweet, Dr. Woods here. What's up?
Well, I'll answer this. So
It depends on.
Hold on, Dr. Weird's got it.
during the lunar day, you're not going to be able to see jack shit except the sun and maybe the Earth. During the lunar night,
Yeah, that's what I was
you
going
will
to say.
see everything.
Exactly, but so the thing is, these astronauts on the Apollo mission, when asked what the stars were like, said, I can't recall if I saw stars on the moon or not. Now, this is impossible because if you had seen some unbelievable starscape that no human had ever seen before, you're not going to not remember that. It makes no sense.
Well, that depends, again, like Dr. Weird was saying, that what side of the moon you're on. Otherwise, you're not going to see it. The sky might not be blue, but it's still going to be blotted out by the sun. And just how everything goes dark for a few seconds when a nuclear bomb goes off.
So
If they really wanted to lie, they would have just said, yeah, we saw them, it was amazing. But the fact that it matches up with how it would be if you were on the light side of, they're like, yeah, I don't recall.
You got to remember too. Their visors were coated with small amounts of gold. That's why they had that yellowish tint. But it wasn't perfect, and so it actually let ambient radiation in. And so the astronauts, when they were doing their moonwalks, they actually had the flashes that they were seeing in their eyes, and this was actually ambient cosmic radiation hitting their cones and their rods, making them think that they were seeing flashes. In reality, it was permanent retinal damage from cosmic radiation.
Okay,
Well,
so
there's also China. China's also landed though. They released videos of them doing their landing and some other stuff. They didn't release like everything, obviously, but.
And I have sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't. So space doesn't reflect light; it absorbs it. So I have a problem with the fact that everything would be blotted out by the sun. It's not possible if you're in space on the moon.
No. So just like when you're welding, just like I don't know if you've ever done any welding or seen really, really bright lights, but it makes all other sources of light not visible. So if you have a nightlight, plug it in, and then turn on your nightlight to max brightness, and then turn on your primary room lights. You won't see your nightlight for shit. Get out your flashlight. Get out your flashlight, and then go out during the day. Turn on your flashlight and see if you can see if your flashlight's on. You won't be able to tell a difference.
I think what she means, like the vacuum of space and the bosons and whatever else is in there, the medium that light's traveling through, like hits some kind of shit on the way to you because we're 9 million miles from the sun or something. So it's like it gets diminished somewhat as far as it's like the really dangerous rays and stuff like that gets diminished. That's why it's the Goldilocks zone.
Yeah, but what Dr. Weir was talking about is still basically, that's how it is. I mean, whether you're on the moon or on Earth, which we're really not that far from each other. It's like 298,000 miles. It's the same general principle of welding or a nuclear bomb going off. It's going to blot out.
Well, that's what I mean. The gamma rays and all the high-powered energy would get filtered out as it reaches that Goldilocks region. If the energy waves started slowing down a little bit, if that makes sense.
And it
The
wouldn't
solar-
have been like that the whole time either. So like them being up there for X amount of time, they never ever once saw a star. That does not make sense, nor is it consistent.
The moon doesn't rotate.
Well, because otherwise planets like Jupiter and stuff would be superheated and be on fire type stuff.
I can answer this. Number one, the moon does rotate, but its rotation relative to the Earth makes it so that it rotates at the same rate that it orbits the Earth, so that one side of the moon is facing towards the Earth at all times. Now, this is rather strange, but that's just the way it is. But during the lunar day, just like you can't see stars in the sky during the day, for the same reason you won't be able to see stars in the sky during the day on the moon. So it's literally.
I'm not refuting that. I'm literally saying that Buzz Aldrin saying that him literally saying he can't recall seeing a star for being up there X amount of days. There wasn't a lunar day the entire time they were up there. They had to have seen stars at some point in time of them being up there. Unless the sun never went out, and there was never a nighttime on the moon.
Queen, the
Yeah,
sun
the
never
sun
went
never
out.
does
See,
go out.
if the sun went out, they would have frozen to death. The temperature on the other side of the moon is like negative something crazy.
Okay, so speaking of the other side of the moon, one of the most fascinating things I've heard, have you guys heard of the music on the dark side of the moon?
Yes,
Has
I
anyone
have.
heard of this? Okay, so can you explain this, Dr. Ward?
So there's transcripts. The music on the moon has never been released. The audio tapes have never been declassified. We have no idea what the astronauts said or heard whilst they were, orbiting the moon on the dark side. However, we do have the transcripts, and the transcripts are very, very strange. And the transcripts of these astronauts also appear to be doctored because their sentences and their dialogue doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I think the transcripts have also been altered. But that being said, even if you assume the transcripts are unaltered, it's very strange. They talk about, they get to the dark side of the moon, and then they hear music, they feel vibrations, they feel a sense of presence. Very, very strange stuff.
So yeah, what I heard is this: when they were in their little spaceship or their little orbiter capsule or whatever the hell they were in, these astronauts, when they were on the dark side of the moon, heard an unearthly music, like an alien music, and this is very strange to say the least. Now, the other thing is, there's been all kinds of weird shit reported from Russian space agencies, for example. There's a case, I don't know if maybe Dr. Weird might have heard of this one as well, or someone else. It's like a Russian space agency or Russian Soviet space astronaut.
Hello?
They call them cosmonauts. Who had
I was
seen
just
like angels in
crossing up
space.
everything
So
that
he
was
said he saw
packed,
angels.
right?
Have you ever heard of this?
And I've got it here.
Yes.
I've got 320 in my purse.
You got any details on it?
Right? 320 cash in my purse. How much
you
have you
don't
got in the
lose
bank?
too much,
Alright, so
but
that means we've got a
angels could
total
be
of
euphemism for a lot
470,
of things.
and everything
It
comes
could
to
be a code word, we're
405.
just
But
not
I've only
sure.
put
But
down 60
they
for
talk.
food, so
There's
you
a
might,
lot of weird things.
have to.
If you want to
And
talk about the moon,
but
the
so
Soviets back in the day
that's
actually
pretty good.
dropped
So I've got
space
320.
a kinetic impact on the
Smokes is
moon.
240.
They landed a measuring
Spock's
device
going to be
on the
65.
surface,
You're going to have to probably.
and to
I can use
obtain
your
the
card
moon's
guys for food,
frequency,
can't I? Yeah.
and
Alright,
to
so I'm going
basically
to
try to determine its geology through frequency, they dropped a kinetic impactor on the surface, and then at the surface, they had some measuring devices that they landed, and what they noticed is that the entire moon's the way that the moon vibrated due to the frequency and the impact would actually indicate that that it's hollow. Now, this doesn't make any sense, but that's what the Soviets observed. So it's either has a very, very, very hard crust with an incredibly soft interior, or it's completely hollow.
Yeah, I've heard of this. They say the moon rang like a bell for hours after it was impacted. And I've heard it's happened more than once, or at least once that this has happened. There's all kinds of other things, like the moon is made of some weird semi-metallic kind of alloy structure in some way. Supposedly, it has like kind of weird synthetic seeming elements to it.
That's one hypothesis to explain it. We just don't know. There's not enough geological evidence. There hasn't been. This is another thing too. The wiles on the surface of the moon. The Thunderbolts project has recently put out some pretty interesting stuff on the crater formations, and they're actually positive, and they have a lot of science to back this up. And their explanation makes more sense than meteorite impacts or meteor impacts. They're positing that the craters and the wiles on the surface of the moon are actually were created by cosmic interplanetary lightning.
Yeah, I've heard about this, and also you probably heard the same theory put forward about Mars with the giant crater. It has like not a crater; it's like a gash that runs like horizontally or horizontally across the planet, across basically the equatorial region of the planet, and it's this gouged out kind of massive, like the Grand Canyon times 100 kind of thing. It goes on, like splits the planet, and I've seen a demonstration where they have like a plasma tool that shoots like electricity, and it makes the exact same pattern of damage that is on Mars. So it would be then either cosmic lightning from the electric universe theory, or plasma cosmology, or some kind of insane electrical weapon. And I think there's a lot of evidence that Mars was actually involved in ancient warfare. That's why Mars is associated with war. Mars is literally the god of war. The two moons of Mars are called Phobos and Deimos, which translate to fear and death. So the system is Mars, war, Aries, Phobos, fear, and Deimos, death. And it has this huge crater, and it also has all the signatures of nuclear weapons on the planet. And apparently these are very distinct signatures that aren't really produced by anything except nuclear weapons. And they say it's the equivalent of a nuclear bomb the size of the Empire State Building being detonated on the planet. And there's even modern photos from the Indian orbiter that appear to show something similar to a nuclear detonation in place happening on Mars, even now.
One of the interesting photographs taken from the Martian surface by one of the rovers is what does strongly appear to be a piece of artillery on the Martian surface. It looks like it has crawler tracks. It has the same elevation that a howitzer would have. It looks like a cannon to me.
I've seen tanks on Mars. I've seen UFOs on Mars, flying saucers on Mars. I've seen weapon emplacements on the moon. And when I say I've seen it, I mean I've seen photos that are supposedly NASA originated, like authentic photos that depict things that are clearly like radar dishes, artillery pieces, bases. I mean, I've seen this. There's literally treads. There'll be like an object moving and leaving like a dual track tread behind it that goes on for like a significant distance, literally leaving like a track behind it as it's moving. There's also things flying across the surface, like they'll leave shadows on the surface. So it's very clear there's activity on the moon. It's very clear there's activity on Mars. It's very clear there's biology on Mars, but for some reason it isn't clear that there's biology on the moon. Now there is now actually factually biology on the moon because Israel, for some reason, fired a probe. Now think about this. They fired a thing into space, and for some reason they loaded it with tardigrades. And tardigrades are water bears. They're little tiny microorganisms that are the most resilient creatures on Earth. Then they said the thing accidentally crashed into the planet and accidentally scattered tardigrades across the whole moon, which, by the way, are the only animal that can actually survive in that condition. So this actually probably wasn't an accident. I think they intentionally seeded the planet with these creatures, and then they used the claim that it was an accident to avoid the legal consequences of doing this or whatever. Like, there's something weird about this.
Well, and that's the other weird thing, too, is they might actually be trying to seed the moon or various other cosmic bodies with Earth-based life so that people don't find non-Earth-based life on the surface. So they're basically hoping to wipe out what little life may exist on the moon and Mars. Wipe it out with Earth-based life to go, haha, this life came from Earth due to contamination a long, long time ago, decades down the road.
Or we could have been doing everything or thinking about everything in reverse. Thinking that we originated on Earth and we're trying to branch out to these other planets. What if we didn't originate on Earth, we originated, say, on Mars, and we just got to the point where we are at now in technology, nukes, stuff like that, technology, and the people on Mars got into a war, just like we're heading to, and nuked everybody to shit, mutually assured destruction. Everybody let nukes go and everybody got fucked over. But a couple of people, or a couple of countries at least, whatever the fuck they had on Mars, had technology to move planets already, so they sent a few colonizers to Earth, and we've been here since.
The Pharaoh agrees.
And then like everything that we're finding is just residue / remnants from ancient human civilization that has already been there.
I have a firm belief there is something more to Mars than we all want to admit, and that's not just because of pop culture telling us, and it's not any of this, but if this planet has been inhabitable range and all these things like that, and we've got all these hidden, because a lot of the reason NASA doesn't want to tell us these things, they don't think the world's ready to learn it, but they know about it. You know what I mean? Like they're sitting there fucking, you know, this is why there's like 79 NASA scientists dropping dead in the last couple of years. I think people are getting tired of the lie.
What do you guys think? Should we just unmute everybody and let everybody who wants to weigh in? Or no?
Sure. I think I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah, let's do that.
And I want to go first. Hey, Shogun. Did someone mention about the stars not being visible in outer space but being visible from Earth? I did. I did some research, and the reason why we see the stars is because we have an atmosphere. And in outer space, there's no atmosphere, so it doesn't work like a magnifying glass. So you cannot see the stars from outer space.
Well, they twinkle, yeah.
It has nothing to do with the atmosphere. No, it has nothing to do with the atmosphere. It's all a matter of how much light pollution there is. during an Earth day or a lunar day or a Mars day, you're not going to be able to see shit. And during the night, you're going to be able to see everything. It's as simple as that.
Well, there's a little bit to it because the what's the term? The albedo of Earth and all the other stuff. I had something and I forgot what I was going to say about it.
Well, I want to touch on because somebody else was positing that, like, oh, the frequency and energy is lost over distance. It's like, well, not really. Like, that's actually getting into Zwickie's tired light theory, and the amount of distance for that to be the case is basically the distance at which is the observable universe limits.
What I meant, what I was trying to say is ozone, for example, that layer past the ionosphere, that's created from photons from the sun hitting oxygen and creating a new particle and then splitting back into a normal one real fast. Also, like neutrinos, the way that we detect neutrinos, we got to dig all the way down into the Earth and set up pools of distilled water to capture, slight electrical changes. They're doing that in Japan, and we have one too, neutrino detectors, because there's all kinds of different levels of energy that are affected by the atmosphere. They travel fast.
Yeah, they do. But, I mean, that's all particle-based models, and we're not even sure if particle-based theory is even correct. All particles could actually just be a form of hard light for all we know.
Hard light. We are all made of light and dark.
It's in Halo. There's these creatures called, I think, the Revenants or something along those lines, and they're created by these creatures called the Makers. Yeah, they're made of a mixture of steel and hard light. And yeah, it's an interesting concept.
Well,
fun fact.
All material might be hard light.
Fun fact, Venus is visible in the northern hemisphere in December and in the later months at like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So you go out now, you can actually go see it, and it's the brightest star in the sky because it has a super high albedo. And it was
Speaking
known
of
as
this,
the morning star.
I wanted to bring something up. You guys heard about this Betelgeuse thing? This star somewhat nearby, visible in the sky, is going supernova, and so it's dimming, and they think it's going to eventually go supernova like fairly soon, like possibly in our lifetimes. And I am highly suspicious that this is not going to just kill everybody, but they're claiming it's not going to just kill everybody. But they're saying it's going to then become so bright we'll be able to see it daytime or night, and we'll basically have a new luminous body in our sky in the next year or two, which is not the sun or the moon, but Betelgeuse going supernova. And some people are saying it won't kill us, but other people are saying it's going to strip our atmosphere or something.
Well, it all depends on the distance, the intensity, etc. And that's assuming that supernovas are even how stars work. A supernova we've never observed a supernova that acts in a predictable way according to the standard model. Supernovas, we've observed them, but we can only speculate as to how they work. When a star dims, it could simply be losing touch with the Birkeland current. It could be losing intensity in relation to another stellar body. It could be two stellar bodies combining. We just don't know, and our current standard, our pure gravity-based models are insufficient to describe accurately everything that we observe. The pure gravity-based model was created before we even knew about plasma, let alone all the other states of matter. And yes, there's dozens of states of matter. So it's a very old model that a lot of establishment interests are emotionally holding on to because their careers are on the line. But we just assume, we have these exoplanets, all supernovas, all Betelgeuse is a star, and we know that it's this big because of the type of light that it produces, and we really don't. We have no idea how big every star in the universe is. We have no freaking clue.
Fascinating. Do you believe that ether is real at all?
Well, here's the thing, right? What is an ether? Well, here's the thing. The modern Einstein field equation-based models of the universe basically removed the ether and then replaced it with Einstein field equations called space-time. And these EFEs describe a concept known as space-time, and they actually, mathematically, they're identical to Maxwell's field equations. They're exactly identical. It's just another way of calling the basically, instead of the ether, they call it space-time and say the ether doesn't exist, but then use identical mathematical models to describe it.
So, Dr. Word, you're obviously much more scientifically literate than most, right? Maybe Machina and data. pretty scientific as well, but I'm a social scientist. So do you give any credence to the theory of the geostationary or the geocentric models of cosmology? Because we have people here that believe the Earth is the center of the universe. There's a documentary called The Principle. There's people who believe that, do you give any credence at all to these alternative cosmologies or alternative theories of the planet Earth or its position in space or what space is or any of this stuff?
Well, what I can say is that a lot of these people, even the flat earthers, right, the geocentric model, the hollow earthers, etc., they're asking the right questions, but their conclusion is a little off. The conclusion is much stranger and oftentimes ends in we don't know, further inquiry is necessary. I don't personally think that the Earth is stationary. I don't believe in geocentrism because the sun and the stars, as we measure them, right, the sun and the stars do not have a wobbling, motion to them when we observe them in the night sky, whereas the planets make little cupcake swirls every now and again. And these little cupcake swirls are an illusion that's created by the perturbations and the inherent ellipses of orbits. People think that the orbits of the planets are perfectly round, and they're not. They're not circular at all. They're elliptical in nature, and the only way we would be able to see the little planets making these little cupcake swirly patterns, and whereas the sun would not make the swirly pattern, the moon would not make the little swirly pattern, is if the sun was at the center of the solar system. That's the only way to solve for that. It also solves other issues like the Gregorian calendar being off, just being inaccurate. The Gregorian calendar is inaccurate, and it's inaccurate because when the Gregorian calendar was made, it was assumed that the Earth was at the center of the solar system, and so now we have to use leap years to fix our calendar to basically patch the inaccuracies of it.
Well, the astrotheology of the calendar system is different in different cultures. Like Mayans had a 25,000 year one, that's 1,000 in 2012. It's all based on precessions and the time frame. Like 2,500 years is what I can't remember right now. Graham Hancock discusses it really good in a podcast, and I can't recall the exact reasonings for the actual calendars. But fun fact: 9/11 was the start of an Egyptian calendar. Dun dun dun.
Well, yes, but I digress. I'm just pointing out that these patterns that we observe the stellar bodies moving in are not consistent with a geocentric model.
Okay, what do you guys think about this, right? Few things to consider. Clear your mind. Set the stage. You have a planet that is supposedly created in a semi-random or random process from a Big Bang and the chain of events that come from that. But on this planet, you have one thing that is a geostationary or geosynchronously non-orbiting satellite of extremely anomalous size, right? So it's something like a third of the dimension of the Earth, or even if not, it's much bigger than any other moon we've really detected relative to its host planet, which is the Earth. Now, so this is very strange, and then it's very strange that it doesn't orbit. It stays tidally and geosynchronously locked, so we always see its same face and never see its other face. Now, the very strange thing is, not only is this object like luminous during the day, but has this whole sequence of phases from the crescent to the perfect half, to the other crescent, to the full, to the new. So it shows all these different stages of disappearing, reappearing, growing, shrinking, and it's all visible from Earth in this incredible way. And then it supersedes our stellar body, which is the sun, in a perfect location, like alignment of trajectory and relative size. So even though we're told the sun is many times, like millions of times bigger than the moon, however much, thousands, hundreds, whatever, it's millions of times bigger, much bigger than the moon, but it appears exactly the same size. So that during the solar eclipse or whatever, the lunar eclipse, there's different eclipses that happen. And then even stranger is the orbit of Venus describes a perfect pentagram in the sky. And we're told to believe that God or some kind of intelligent alien or artificial intelligence or programmer is not behind this, because I'm not going to buy that you have the solar eclipse, the lunar eclipse, a geosynchronous non-rotating body locked with our tides, and also another planet that draws a perfect pentagram in the sky. And then we've got a geomagnetic force field around the planet. We've got all these ecological systems recycling nutrients and oxygen. We got sunlight coming down and feeding all the plants. Like this, to fathom that this would be some kind of random system is just inconceivable to me.
Shut up, you dirty hippie. No, I'm just kidding. No, but so that ties into a theory. There was a book written actually that discusses that the moon is a space base and that it was put there by aliens a long time ago. Which, I mean, technically, if you imagine a swarm of UFOs, like enough UFOs that could displace gravity of a large body, it could potentially move it in a direction, right? So, I mean, if there's a bunch of fucking swirling UFOs going fast around a planetary body, it could displace the gravity of it and its pathway and actually change its trajectory, right? So there could be some alien races out there that could potentially, but
I mean, you talk about displacing gravity, but we don't even know what gravity is. Gravity, force of nature that we observe, not as a force in and of itself, but as a secondary force to something more fundamental.
Right, but that's why it's a goofy theory that they were talking, because again, he just pointed out how the moon itself is so perfectly aligned and everything else, and it doesn't spin, and it's the right distance to create the seasons.
Well, ultimately the weird thing about it, no matter how you cut it, is the geology of the moon. The regolith, the dust, everything is very different than any other body the moons of Titan, the comets, the asteroids, Mars, Venus. The moon's regolith, very different.
Oh yeah, there's talks of mining the moon for helium-3 to use in fusion reactors, right? Because that's what they think the craft's fusion reactor.
Helium-3. No, so here's the weird thing, right? The U.S. government hoards helium-3, but other than neutron detection, there's really no known other use, commercially, weapon energy, etc., for helium-3, except anti-gravity craft. So yeah.
Dun dun dun.
You have to recall that the moon is also moving away from us. It's getting smaller a little bit at a time, and it used to be much bigger.
Yeah, so, the moon's moving away from us at the rate at which a human fingernail grows.
Have you ever heard about the theory that there was a time before the moon in many, even human cultures, so ancient Greek and legends and other legends tell a time before the moon? And it's just recorded in mythology that there used to be no moon, and then there was a moon. Now,
yeah, it's I thought.
Yeah, I am.
It's called Tiamat is the concept, or the another body that's out there. That's what they called it. There's a researcher named what is his name? Michael Sarian. He does a lot of deep dives on the occult and textbooks and ancient history stuff. And there's discussions of Tiamat being the 10th planet, Nibiru equivalent. I don't really give too much efficacy to it, but there's that weird connection with the moon, so there must be something more to it than we know, or we'll ever know, unfortunately.
Stuart Swerdlow also goes on about that the moon was brought here by the Draconians. He's another researcher along the lines of Michael Sarian.
Yeah, well,
Michael Sarian. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if there are draconians, I want to put them in a crock pot and see what they taste like.
Oh, God.
Well, crocodile's the best meat of all. Alligator is the healthiest meat. But I digress, as Dr. Word was. I digress. Go ahead, Dr. Word.
Well, I mean, the other thing, too, is, if we want to talk about how to move stellar bodies, anti-gravity might actually be a secondary function of transportation. Anti-gravity may only be used, if it even exists at all, may only be used as a secondary methodology of transportation. The primary might be expanding and upscaling quantum tunneling to essentially work with starships. Why not? We can instantly teleport subatomic particles via spooky action at a distance and entanglement. Why couldn't we do the same for starships?
Okay, I want to mention something quickly. Have you seen, Dr. Weird, or anybody, this thing? It's called a stellar engine, and they figured out how to move the solar system, like to make a device that would actually, a human-made device that would actually move the entire solar system and push a star around. That is fucking crazy.
The problem is that it consumes a lot. So I've seen it, yes, but the problem is that it consumes a lot of the star's own power and energy, at least according to the standard model to propel it. But in order for the stellar engine to work, standard Einstein field equations must be true, because if stars don't work the way mainstream gravity-based models tell us, then the stellar engines that have been proposed would not work at all. Again, the Sapphire Project, this is a team of researchers and physicists, created an artificial sun. They already did it, but they didn't use fusion. That's the weird thing. They used electric universe and plasma universe-based cosmological models, and they were able to reproduce a miniature sun inside of a lab, almost to the T, identical in every measurable way. Same magnetic fields, same properties, same everything, but smaller. But here's what's really weird. When they shut it down and they analyzed the particulate on the walls of the chamber and on the surfaces of the cathodes and anodes, they found actinides and lanthanides. There was no fusion going on. They formed transuranics, actinides, and lanthanides without any fusion. This breaks all of our known laws of physics. Yeah,
well,
it happened.
Well, yeah, so I was just going to say, well, that goes into the fact that the U.S. government has a couple hundred, if not more, patents that are captured in national security, because I believe people at like Los Alamos and all these researchers and scientists doing stuff, they figured something else out, and they're not telling the world about it, and there's like a whole treasure trove of science that's just sitting there waiting to be like let out.
Yes.
And I think they have some incredible stuff that could change humanity for the better, and I think they're hoarding it because they want this. I do think it's because they want a world order before doing it, but at the same time, you know, you're basically smoke screening the rest of science and progression and the entire culture. There's 7 billion people that don't know and 500 million that do know. It's crazy to me.
Well, see, the weird thing is we know the technology is being suppressed in mass, and I'm actually working on reverse engineering my own technology that's been suppressed historically. But that's another story for another day. But yeah, we have 100 years of technological development that's been suppressed, and when the system collapses, it's going to get front-loaded onto us in a period of about 10 years during Reconstruction. And the thing is, like you mentioned, oh, well, they want a new world order, whoever they is, right? Well, let's assume they exist, whatever this nebulous they is, or are. Assuming they exist, if they desire a new world order, and they're like, and then they'll release the technology. No. Once the technology is prolific, it ends their ability to control other humans at all. Like, once you have infinite, cheap, or free energy, and you're able to do anything you want with either next to no cost or at no cost, game over. GG. No more power. It's the end of social systems. It's the end of paradigms. It's the end of humanity as we know it.
Well, that's the root of technocracy. They were going to use they were going to use energy credits as a form of currency, and they would give a form of UBI to each person on the planet to have a number of energy credits allocated to them to use as currency. And that would be because they had this. They were the ones holding all the energy production. That's the root of technocracy. If anybody's aware of that.
Sure. But how are they going to uphold this energy-based technocracy when everybody has infinite energy?
I don't know, but that was the root of it, is what I'm trying to say. They can't really do it because, yeah, there's little dudes in there. There's a Boy Scout that took, like, what did he do? He took the Mercium out of smoke detectors and built a nuclear reactor in his backyard.
I remember that story. It's wild. I hope they give that kid a good ass job in the government.
He's dead, unfortunately.
No, because he made himself sick?
I don't know. I think he just got famous and couldn't handle it and then died. Wow. I think he got into drugs or something.
You're on drugs. Actually, you're not. You should be, though. But what else can we say? So what do you think, Dr. Weird? What's the prime, or anybody, NSA, anybody, the prime candidate for life on Earth? Because I think we're going to find life not, like, the moon has to have life. Like, let's start. So we know Earth is completely colonized with life. It's teeming. There's life virtually everywhere we've ever looked. There's only one ecosphere on the entire planet Earth that has no life. And it's these crazy sulfuric acid pools somewhere that literally nothing can live in, not even bacteria. But that's the exception that proves the rule, in that other than that one environment, life lives everywhere. Then you have these tardigrades that now live on the moon. So they're saying even if there isn't any indigenous life on the moon, there's technically tardigrades that are not dead. Like, they're actually alive. Now, they're in a state of suspended animation. They're not active, but they're not dead. They're alive. And if you were to give them water or whatever, they would come to life. So even if it was a long time from now, if conditions on the moon were to change, these little guys would come back to life. So there is that life on the moon. But I'm sure you guys have heard of the Shard and the Spire the castle. There's these huge structures on the moon that have been photographed way back since like the 70s and 80s. The shard, right? And the tower. They're like kilometer high towers on the dark side of the moon that literally stick up from the lunar surface and are kilometers high and completely artificial. Like there's just no natural phenomenon that could account for these. There's also a new one detected recently that's like a sharp, like eyelash shaped thing that just grows out of the surface. There's fucking gases that have been detected venting out of the surface. It's got a hollow nature. It's got this, and apparently the moon dust and shit is older on the moon than the solar system. So they say the moon's dust is older than the sun. So it came from somewhere else, and it's older than our whole system. And then the way it's tidally locked implies that it's an artificial thing to me. And then it's covered in these artificial structures. But the Mars is even more active. Mars has clear proof to me, like there's no question, that there's fungus, lichen, even macrobiology, trees type structures, plant type structures, and then cultural structures, social structures, pyramidal structures, triangular structures, artificial structures, things that look like tanks, things that look like this and that, things that move around. There was a little fucking rabbit thing that came onto the fucking rover thing and moved its little ears around and went, wait, and then ran off and then was gone. How does something come out of nowhere, wave its little ears around, and then run off if it's not a creature? So there's little critters on fucking Mars.
So there's multiple reasons why. There's multiple signs. Go ahead.
All the planets, their rotations are slowing down slightly over time, and eventually they would all become tidally locked with the sun if given enough time. Of course, the sun will probably go supernova before that point. So the fact that the moon is tidally locked to us does not necessarily mean it was always that way, because it's just an effect that the rotation of the planets. I mean, we used to have more days because the Earth used to spin quicker than it does now in a year. So just want to point that out.
Yeah, well, and regarding actual extraterrestrial life, I mean, what do we got today, right? We got the Prime Minister of Russia saying on the news there's 3 races on Earth. We got Paul Hellyer saying there's 6 or 7 visiting, and there's 67 in the galaxy that they're aware of, and that they're working with governments. We got Luis Elizondo and To the Stars with Tom DeLonge discussing it and all the technologies, and Secret Machines was his book. And we have the guys that Elizondo comes out and says that the Pentagon had religious problems with it because they thought these beings were demonic, and it's like, well, they kind of are. But and that they're not a threat unless they want to be. So these discussions of ETs have been around in this galaxy a lot longer than we have, I believe. And so I think they view us as like a game type stuff. You know what I mean? We're just people to play with their little fucking hologram weapons and shit.
That's a very anthropocentric interpretation of an alien intelligence. I find it interesting that people are quick to anthropomorphize intelligences that are literally alien, if they exist at all.
But here's the thing, Dr. Weird. So we know, me and you know, right? I know you, you know me. I know that you have an advanced knowledge of the phenomenon of what you might call unidentified aerial threats, more advanced than mine, like in terms of these UFOs. You know these are interplanetary things. But here's the thing. There's 3 possibilities, right? We have this phenomenon of UFOs. We know it's real. The Navy in 2019 announced that they have classified top secret information about the UFO or UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, or UAT, unidentified aerial threat phenomenon. And they said they don't release it because it poses a quote-unquote grave threat to national security. So if the Navy is saying we have all these files of these unidentified aerial phenomenon / unidentified aerial threats that pose a quote-unquote grave threat to national security, then they do not consider these to be ball lightning, Venus, the moon, swamp gas, or any of this bullshit. They know that these are technological things that exceed their understanding. It exceeds their capabilities. It exceeds the known capabilities of any known government on Earth, including Russia, China, and America, and Israel, and all the significant technological powers. So therefore, it must be essentially non-human. But here's what people don't realize. They think if it's non-human, it falls into 2 camps. You got people like NSA who believe these are interplanetary visitors on nuts and bolts flying saucer spacecraft. Then you've got people like Mode for Truth or whoever who think that these are demons and they're some kind of spiritual beings appearing as aliens to fuck with us. Then you have people like me who believe both spiritual beings and interdimensional beings and transdimensional beings exist, and aliens exist. So spirits and aliens both exist. Plus, we know there's all the unidentified fucking classified programs. But the point is, even the people who have the most advanced unidentified classified USAT black budget programs, like the Aurora, the TR-3B. I mean, me and Dr. Weird talked a long time about these guys, like these fucking crazy spaceships we have. And by the way, the TR-3B can go in the ocean, it could go in space, and it can go, we don't know, I don't think it's interplanetary, but it can definitely go on the edge of space. It might be interplanetary. I'm fucking...
Have the balls to take it there to our knowledge.
Well, so Reagan, right? Reagan had a movie showing of E.T. the Extraterrestrial with Spielberg there. And Spielberg is quoted as saying, there's props to the dark journalist for this one. He looked into this one and got the quotes out, that everything in that was real. So all of that stuff was like really going on. That's why Reagan was doing the alien invasion psyop. So what they were doing, what the governments were doing, is they were going to either fake an alien invasion or do something to bring about world order. And that's what Dr. Greer is discussing. And all the militaries were like, no, this sounds stupid. People will die. There's got to be a better way. So I think it's idiots at NATO and the U.S. and the Army and all these international coalitions dealing with it. I believe they call it the SIG group now, the Majestic Group, an international cabal dealing with the alien scenario. They can't figure out how to peacefully be with these beings, I guess. I don't know. I think they're trying to figure it out. There are talks of in 55 that Eisenhower had a meeting with them and all that, and they were going to do the cover-up, and that cover-up was going to allow the aliens basically to just fly around Earth and do whatever the fuck they want, and we'll cover it up for them and work with them type shit and create this cabal world order crap. And I think that's really truly what's been going on after my interaction with these beings. But yeah, I think the biggest reason it's a threat to national security is they don't want to have to admit to Americans that we can't protect you in your house from this. But at the same time, you could tell them they could protect themselves from the psychological damage that it would cause, because the psychological damage from these beings, I mean, they utilize these EMF weapons and mind control and all this other stuff. That's why in the movie Signs, they were wrapping tinfoil around their head and alien stuff. And it's called predictive programming. They're trying to put that into the medium so that when it happens, it's not such a shock to the system.
You know what? It's weird. For some reason, I don't find most movies actually scary. I found Science scary. I found that a scary movie. I don't know why. It was actually frightening to me.
It was a jump scare kind of movie.
I mean, here's the thing, NSA. You make a lot of claims that are non-falsifiable. I only like to talk about what I know or what I can reasonably assume with a high degree of surety given the information that I have available.
Well, no, that quote from Reagan is real. There's leaked documents to Greer that are real. These are real things. I'm not making this out of nowhere.
Sure. I mean, you're not wrong about the quotes, but here's the thing, right? Then you jump to, and then they want to stage a fake alien invasion because they're using EMF weapons and mind control and all this stuff.
That was in the PSYOP quote.
We can't know that.
No, but if you always talk about everything that you know, how are you going to explore and discover new things? If you don't entertain new things and entertain big ideas, how do you ever know if that idea could be true? You're already dismissing it before you're entertaining it.
There's two realms, real quick, Dr. Ware. There's two realms here, right? So Bill Cooper, ex-Navy intelligence, discussing the documents he's personally seen, discussing this operation. And then there's the Strategic Studies Institute that discusses a psychological operation designed to use these technology, holographic projection capabilities, directed energy weapons, induced auditory input, neurocybernetics. And this was leaked to Dr. Stephen Greer, who is a big proponent of the Disclosure Project. And so these things are hitting the medium. Now, of course, some of it could be faked and some of it could be disinfo and stuff like that. But there's multiple sources talking about these technologies and things going on. So to me, and I've experienced it personally, so I have a firm belief in that I am aware of what they're capable of. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. And again, I'm not disputing that. What I am disputing is that you're attributing a lot more to extraterrestrial intelligence when almost everything you're talking about doesn't necessarily have to be from extraterrestrials. You keep talking about all this technology, EMF weapons, all this and that. Well, MK Ultra wasn't done by aliens; it was done by people. You talk about.
Well, so again, being as that I've experienced contact with these beings, they use these drugs in periods of consciousness to manipulate and enhance suggestion. So when you drug someone with LSD and MK Ultra, you become way more open to suggestion, and your eyes open up to see their technologies. They come in and they'll come in and play with people. So I think the CIA was feeding people in MK Ultra to be tested on by in tandem with the CIA and the extraterrestrials. Do I have proof? No. So I don't really have proof, but judging by the interaction that I've and the deconstruction of mind control that I've seen and the brainwashing techniques and tactics, I can attest to the efficacy that somebody else got the CIA's technology to do this to us. That, you know, one of these beings was watching when they were doing it if they weren't working with them, if that makes sense.
Again, you know, the lack of evidence, you know, pushes me to shy away. I only, here's the thing, there's so many possibilities that could explain this, and I think you're just jumping onto one possibility that's unlikely and is honestly nonsensical if you understand, if you've looked at a lot of the testimonies of how these craft work and operate and various other things. They're basically a post-resource scarce civilization. The idea that they would have anything more than a feign academic interest at best of humanity as a whole, let alone individuals, is completely laughable. These beings are basically beyond Dr. Manhattan levels of technological prowess and sophistication and intellect. They would have no reason to be like, oh, they like to puppeteer people and play games. It's like, no, the concept of play is, we're beyond the concept of play. We're beyond the concept of control or having the desire to have power over others. It's beyond good and evil, beyond power, beyond most people's ability to understand.
This is false. These guys have been here they've come and gone for a long time, as the people have disclosed that they have. And they have technology, it's called synthetic telepathy. They can whisper into your ear a suggestion while you're having a communication with someone and short circuit your brain. That's why people, when they talk about them breaking MK Ultra on the newscasts and stuff like that, they're probably getting a short circuit from their inputs. And the technology's real. So it's not that they wouldn't be doing this, but they do just play with us, and they research us, and they use human beings. And the whole targeted individual phenomena is a giant test project for these ETs to fly around America and the world and use these technologies on people. They're synthesizing. I have that psyop right there.
Like, I have somewhat of a problem too with the line of logic. They're so far technologically advanced that they wouldn't have a need for us. So do you think that, and I'll ask you this question specifically, do you think that if we got to a super advanced, hyper-intelligent society, and we were still considered ourselves as the only people in the entire universe, and we were exploring the universe just all willy-nilly whatever, and we happened upon a species who can also think intelligently and do things the same way that we're doing it, you don't think that they wouldn't take any type of interest in that at all, just because they're hyper-intelligent and hyper-technologically advanced? They see organic life forms that can think and do the same things they do along the same lines that they've never seen before. They don't want to take an interest just because they're technologically advanced. You did, though.
No, I said that they would take a feign academic interest in the same way a biologist would research ants.
Well, I disagree in that. Okay. I disagree in that.
With that.
Well, no, if there's as many races out there that there are, and they've mastered artificial intelligence, they're like basically a college grad with a cell phone, and that cell phone can launch a spaceship type stuff. Like they're still an intelligent biological being with high technology. There's nothing in their minds that would make them so much drastically different, other than larger, more abstract thought. All the studies and all the discussions that I've first seen of leaks and leakers from the Air Force and CIA is that their brains are only about 1,300 cc's larger than ours. They can't really be that much.
We might solve global warming because hell's free. Because I gotta say, Dr. Wolf's a lot more convincing on this. Queen, can you mute yourself? We're here on the freeway.
Going to talk. That's why I was unmuted.
I'm sorry.
Don't get aggressive, tyrant.
I'm not, but that was irritating.
I just want to apologize. My Discord had automatically disconnected for some reason. But anyway, so here's the thing, right? It's not the size of the brain that even matters. We know this because whale brains and elephant brains are larger than human brains, yet their intelligence is it's not even complexity. We don't even know. There's models like orchestrated objective reduction. There's Rupert Sheldrake's morphic resonance theory. There's all sorts of stuff that we just can't know, and so you're jumping with all these claims that are based off of information that's secondary or tertiary. But yes, these claims are technically possible, but there's no way to jump to them with any modicum of conclusivity. I just don't understand why you're
there's nothing that takes them from the possible to the probable. That's the issue.
Well, and of course not. And Dr. Greer talks about this stuff, that the shadow government used to just kill people that talk about this crap. There's a bullet with your name on it, son. All this stuff. They used to just fucking off them, and they ruled them by fear to not, spread anything. They got these people.
Greer's name a lot, but Dr. Greer and I actually agree on a lot of things, whereas you disagree with Dr. Greer on a lot. Dr. Greer posits that the cabals are basically special interest organizations that suppress the development and implementation of high efficiency and low cost energy technologies.
Hold on. So I don't disagree with Greer on a lot of things. In fact, I agree with Greer on a lot of things. That's where you get this. The only one thing that I disagree with Greer on is that they are not all benevolent. They are not all benevolent species. They do play with us. They do toy with us. They do find individuals of special interest and play with them. They do these things. And that's the one thing I disagree with them, just from my observations of, for example, that PSYOP that I list all the time, discussing, satanic temples. So Satanism goes all the way back to Baal worship in ancient Egypt. When the aliens were playing around in ancient Egypt, that was the religion of the empire builders, and that's why they're using that medium here now. They're not all benevolent, is what I'm trying to say.
I have a question. Let me talk. You guys are going back and forth. My turn. So I want to go back to where you said that you think that the interest that aliens would take in humans would be the same interest as you said a biologist takes in microorganisms, right? So I feel like that would be true if we were tiny and they were way huge, way bigger than us. Because why do we look at microorganisms under a microscope? Because we can't see them. Now, if microorganisms were walking around and talking and having intelligent conversations with us, things would be a lot different now, wouldn't they? So for that theory to be 100% accurate, we would have to be like literally microorganisms to the people observing us for them to treat us the same way.
No, because intelligence is relative. Intelligence is relative. Do you have an interest in having conversations with people with mental deficits that can barely hold together a semblance of a conversation? Just because you can exchange and communicate basic information doesn't mean that you can actually garner any meaning from that conversation. Doesn't mean you can actually...
But that's... Okay, so the interest with that would be a human with another human, correct? So no, I don't really have that much interest in another human talking about that. But if it's not a human and it can speak and talk coherently, of course, everyone would have an interest in that.
Well,
to say that they wouldn't is kind of like asinine.
No, I would not talk with a squirrel. The squirrel didn't have a better IQ.
Oh my goodness. I'm not talking about a squirrel. I'm not talking about an animal. I'm talking about...
Don't latch onto the one thing. It's just an analogy. You said if it's not a human, then whatever. Dr. Weird's analogy applies. I'm not talking with something of much lesser... I'm not talking with anything of a much lesser intellect than me that I can't communicate with. I don't care if it's a... Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, because it's novel, because you can't.
Well,
so you're saying
I love a cat, right?
Would,
I mean, cats are pretty damn smart.
Right. But the one analogy that we can throw at everyone's like, oh, no, I wouldn't do that, but so you don't know that.
Right. Well, we do, if I could say something. So this argument is, okay, if we were like, compared to these gray aliens or whatever, or these reptilians or these mantids or these Venusians or tall whites or whatever you believe these aliens are, we're so primitive that they wouldn't bother to talk to us or interact with us or study us or abduct us or genetically engineer us or interfere with us or hybridize us, right? To me, that doesn't make sense. Because if you use humans as an analogy, we as humans are an advanced technological, social, linguistic species. We have language, we have culture, we have society, we have technology. So therefore, we're very different than everything else. But we still have people who literally go and take pond water and analyze that pond water to see how much bacteria is in it or whatever. So therefore, even if there was aliens who are extremely advanced, they would still potentially come and check on people in the same way that we might check on trees, or we might check on rodent populations, or we might check on cockroaches. I mean, they don't need to hold us in high esteem just to come do some tests on us and be like, what is the population of Earth? How many people are here? What is their DNA level? Like, maybe they're that advanced that they just check on shit and like, okay, indigenous species of Earth, species, planet number 501199911, 0% danger. Move on.
And I agree. But what NSA is positing is that these beings riding around in nano-engineered spaceships that are so advanced they don't have a single nut, bolt, weld, screw, rivet, or wire on the thing. They're literally perfect.
Hold on, Queen.
They're literally perfect.
Why do I get to be cut off multiple times, but I can't do it to the next person?
Dr. Weird is responding to Shogun. Jesus.
So, well, everyone's supposed to get their turn. Nobody try and cut each other off. Everyone gets a 2-minute limit. Please, next open mic, you get it. So, Dr. Weird, then Queen, and I'm sorry, we'll go on.
So anyway, I mean, I just find it interesting that NSA is just anthropomorphizing beings that are so advanced and so intelligent. They're riding around in ships that are literally perfect at the atomic and possibly even subatomic level. They can do things that even by most people's standards today would be considered literally magic. And I know enough about technology to know that it's not magic, but most people genuinely wouldn't. They would literally assume that it's magic. And that would be their conclusion on it, right? And NSA is just positing that they're just going around torturing people like a fucking angry teenager with psychopathy tortures squirrels and dogs. Yeah, it happens, and we throw those people in prison.
Yeah, but would they? And there's a lot of possibilities here, right? So, I mean, let's break it down. I'll go to the bottom of any rabbit hole, right? So I have a friend who twice encountered reptilian aliens. Literally came and paralyzed him, essentially tortured him with like terror, and appeared to just sort of paralyze him and then inflict like ungodly fear on him, and then sort of just absorb that or something. And that's actually a theory. It's called loosh, and these reptilians harvest loosh. Now, I know NSA doesn't believe in this, but it's the idea this is where satanic ritual abuse comes from. It's why there's this whole pedocracy thing, the Pizzagate thing, and all this. And all this evil and sadism in the world comes from these loosh harvesting reptilian creatures. And it's like, if you watch the Oats series, if you haven't seen this, go to YouTube and watch Oats, O-A-T-S. What is it called? Rackus or something. Oats Rackus. And it's this about these reptilian aliens who come and they just like crucify people they cover the Eiffel Tower with human bodies that are alive and like screaming. Like, it's completely fucked. But the thing is, it's these evil beings, right? Then you got the Greys, the Zeta Reticulans, as NSA calls them. They're a little more neutral, but they're still pretty fucked up because they do cattle mutilations, they do genetic engineering, they do anal probing, implants. They're still pretty sinister, but they're not as sinister as the reptilians. The reptilians are straight up sadistic and evil. The Greys are like kind of sadistic and evil. They torture you and this and that, but it seems to have this more weird genetic impulse behind it or something. They're testing or something scientific, just amoral. And then you have the Venusians, which are apparently good. And then you have Val Valiant Thor. Like, do you know the story of Val Valiant Thor? Anybody?
I have heard of it, yes.
Can anyone say anything about this? Because I think it's quite interesting. The Stranger at the Pentagon.
Yeah, it's an interesting urban legend, but there's not a lot of documentation or information that we can actually trace back to a decent source. So it is literally by definition an urban legend. So we have to take everything with a grain of salt. When I look at this subject, I look at credible testimony from people like Paul Hellyer or Lieutenant Chester Barton, who literally helped clean up the wreckage. And Chester Barton, by the way, was of the opinion that it was a crashed B-22 or B-29 Superfortress that was carrying a nuclear payload, which is why all the people cleaning up the wreckage at Roswell were wearing hazmat suits. Now, if it was a fucking weather balloon, why were they wearing hazmat suits?
Yeah. I mean, the weather balloon thing is absurd because they had the Air Force general or whatever make a press report and say, we have detected a flying saucer. He described it as a flying saucer and made this announcement. And then they're like, oh no, it was just some aluminum foil from something or whatever. And it's like, no Air Force commander is going to announce a flying saucer if he sees some aluminum foil or some metal foil. Like, this is not a realistic disparity between someone's credentials and someone's claims and then the reality. So it's clearly a cover-up. It's a cover-up of something. There's no question.
Well, I mean, regardless, I just take issue that NSA is ascribing his own personal subjective experiences and interpretations, which could manifest.
And I'm interrupting now. No, I'm going to interrupt now because I've been talked over multiple times, and it was supposed to be my turn, and I didn't get it. And my response was directly to you trying to call NSA out for just putting his own personal things in this. Now, you are operating in this entire argument under the assumption that there is only one alien species, and that's the only species out there, and that they wouldn't want to have interest in our species. And you did say they didn't want to have interest with us. You literally argued with me about that for X amount of minutes, that they would not take any interest in our species except for a rudimentary microbiologist would. But then when Shogun comes and says the exact same thing that I just did, you're inclined to agree with him.
No.
It's not NSA saying or trying to force his narrative on everything. There's multiple different species of aliens with multiple different what's that called? Motives, right? So there could be an alien species out there super technologically advanced, like you're describing, that don't give a fuck about the Earthlings. That's fine. But there also could be 3 more that do give a fuck about the Earthlings. And you're not even attempting to accept that fact or even entertain that.
No, wrong. When Shogun mentioned the 3 types of people, which is that they're either beings or, spiritual or both, I'm of the opinion that anything is possible. I don't know who these beings are, how many there are, the types. I don't know. All of the above could be true. I've always said that. I've never claimed otherwise. I make no axiomatic assumptions. I'm what I would call a super skeptic, a hyper skeptic. I am skeptical of everything, including credible organizations, mainstream. I'm skeptical of literally everything. And so when people make claims that are inherently non-falsifiable and based on their own subjective experiences and interpretations, and they just posit that out there and throw it out there as fact that can't be disputed, when in fact, when the reality is it's non-falsifiable and is a subjective, basically a witness report at best, I'm going to call it out, because we can't know that. Everything that NSA talks about literally could be 100. All the toying with people and playing with their minds, literally that could just as easily be described as being 100% human activity.
So that's fine.
But here's the thing. Hold on, NSA. Here's the thing, though. When NSA talks about this stuff, he's not just saying, oh, all this stuff happens to me, so that's why I know it's real. He provides you with multiple different things, multiple things that have happened, things that are falsifiable and that you can go look up, and draws conclusions there. But he also adds his own anecdotal evidence. So yes, I agree with you. Anecdotal evidence cannot be proven. I agree with you. It's right to be skeptic about that. But to say that you can't have a conversation about it or to call it out every time it happens, I don't know. It seems very argumentative to me. And there's no point.
Not only that, but hang on. We're not here to debunk everything and every little thing. So I understand skepticism. I get it. There's a large disinformation campaign in the CIA to have brainwashed the entire society, communities to question these little things, to send people down rabbit holes, because they want to distract any experiencer. There's 20 million abduction reports worldwide. There's contacts all over the world with people talking to these entities. So there's a lot of evidence to show that there's people that aren't just suffering a collective psychosis. So I along with that, couple it with Army, psyops that have been devised, and I can attest to the efficacy that exact psyop ran on me. The aliens tried to tell me they were demons, that they ran the planet, that all this other stuff. So there is truth to that from what I see. And then I take my own spin on it, going, okay, this is what they're doing. They're targeting individuals. They're playing this game with them. They call it the Black Ark on Iron Prison. Philip K. Dick calls it that as well. I believe he was a contactee. They target influencers around the world. They're trying to mold society and alter it and play with people. So it's not every little bit is malevolent. They probably do just enough good, just like, Masons do enough public service so that they don't really have to talk about what they're doing in hiding. Or the biker gangs do stuff in public service so that they can look better to the public. Like, this is an old trick used all the way back to the mafia. They would get neighborhoods involved that think they're doing good while they go and do the drug dealing in the back. So
I just, because I've looked at the sources. People say, oh, he has sources. Yes, he does. And I've looked at a lot of them. And his sources to justify the existence of such, entities are valid. There is no source, not a single independent source other than his own anecdotal experiences that can illustrate their motives.
So well, that's what I'm trying to say. So the targeted individual program on Earth, where people think the government's watching them and harassing them, that is being run by these beings so that they can get free experimentation on people. They're going around and simulating with mind control. They have fMRI brain scan readers. They scan your brain and then they send you telepathy to see what it does, and then they can machine learn how to do that and then control you even better with. They're researching this, and they're using us as research subjects. They told me specifically they view humanity as causality to their artificial intelligence. They call it the sentient one. So I mean, I don't have proof of these things. I understand, but there are 160,000 targeted individuals in the United States. Not all of them are just crazy. Some of them are being targeted by this shit. It's the root of the tinfoil hat theory, and it has a lot of merit. That's why there's a lot of disinfo out there. They even want people calling themselves targeted individuals and coalescing them into little groups and stuff like that, going, my perps are this, my perps are that. They don't want the people knowing that visitors from another planet are testing on us like zoo animals. So as far as the agenda and the motive goes, I don't really have it on paper to tell you. All I can tell is it's not fucking benevolent. So when Greer says they're benevolent, they're full of shit, at least these particular ones.
Okay, that's fine, but how do you... Here's the thing, you're claiming that it's the aliens that are doing this. How do you know it's not? Do you have any evidence other than your own either anecdotal experiences or interpretations to indicate that the targeted individual phenomena is extraterrestrial and not entirely man-made?
So I have a large number of human names I can dox, but I'm not going to do that right now. I haven't decided or not if I want to make this story a little more public. But I have family members in the NSA, and I have text messages saying that there's programs being run like this. I have over the phone discussions with them saying aliens and all this other stuff. The shadow knows, ha ha ha. So I have a lot of links to an intelligence community that if aliens were on Earth, they'd be interacting with and then therefore targeting myself. So I do know that they are either working with humans on some level or they are part of a cult, if you will, these private interests, whatever you want to call it. They call it social experimenting. I call it torture, but whatever you want to call it. It's sold to the generals. The project itself was sold to the generals as a terrorist pacification program, but it's just a cover story for advanced mind control research. And they're getting free people to test on all over the world. Drug addicts, homeless people, military men, etc. Even housewives are being targeted by this stuff. And the reason why they don't want to disclose is because we don't have the ability of stopping them if we really wanted to, and they would just do it anyway.
Social engineering predates first contact. It predates 1947. Social engineering was created by Edward Bernays in the 1890s and George Bernard Shaw in the early 1900s. Social engineering is something that was employed by governments, special interest groups, large multinational corporations to push agendas. Social engineering and mind control devices are technology that's been developed by very human motives. Again, you say, oh, the NSA is working on this and working on that. Cool. But there may not be a connection there. You're trying to connect two things for which there's no evidence for the connection.
So there was a leaker named Robert Duncan, and he discusses the project, and he says, don't talk about aliens, they'll just think you're crazy. That's part of the fucking story. They want the people to think we're crazy because there's no tangible evidence with a selfie with an alien. The technology is so advanced that people would just freak the fuck out. So even the leakers are being a controlled opposition to this stuff. Dr. Robert Duncan, he's written many books on mind control and all this stuff. And the reason why there isn't is because they stay well hidden. There's trillions of dollars of Pentagon money going in for this cover up, dude. Like, there's a reason why they don't have any pictures out there of it, but they've been doing these things. It's like looking through history and saying I don't know, like Caligula was a nice guy or something. It's like, well, we have on paper that he wasn't being a nice guy and was crazy, so just because he won, and I don't know, it's a bad example, but
all I'm asking for is you're connecting you have evidence for a thing, you have evidence for another thing, but other than your own anecdotal experiences and testimony, you have no evidence for the connection of the two things.
No, but that's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this kind of stuff is to share my experience. I'm not telling you have to believe it like it's the scripture, but I know what I've seen, and I know what they're doing, and I've seen the technology. They've projected at me holograms of pyramids, obelisks, all manner of goofy things. They've telepathically communicated to me. They're masking these contact scenarios and experiences in schizophrenic symptoms so that they can get away with free testing.
So Occam's razor, can we use Occam's razor? In the absence of evidence, Occam's razor is a good tool to arrive at a probable conclusion. And Occam's razor is simply the answer that requires the least assumptions is most likely correct.
That's fine, Dr. Weird. I respect you for being a skeptic. I'm not trying to be an asshole about it. I know you're just wrong, and that's fine. But I understand your need to be skeptic about it, and we'll agree to disagree about it.
Okay, and like I said, if ever you get the evidence to connect the two things, I'm a very open-minded person.
If he ever gets the evidence, he'll be killed first. Like that. If anybody had evidence to connect the two things, they'd either be dead or not around, because that's already been happening. Like, it's the reason why it's so hard to prove large-scale government operations and large-scale conspiracy theories is because when you get close to finding out the truth, the people who did said things don't let you. That's why Clinton has had millions of people, not millions, but hundreds of people murdered. That's why people literally get murdered every single day for secrets. So if he had this evidence, you do really think he would be able to give it to us, specifically here, before he was dead?
Well, and they're effectively killing me too. I mean, they're abusing me with this tech all day, every day. It's the design of Project Majestic is to ruin the person financially, emotionally, and physically using these technologies and kill them by directed energy means. Part of mind control is to have somebody go under what's called a soft kill. If they can't kill them themselves and martyr them in front of people, they will soft kill them and fuck with them until they kill themselves or they're paranoid. And they do this to a lot of people, and they're doing it to a lot of fucking people in this country.
So, and I've heard you claim before that you have implants in your eyes and various other things. So, let me ask you this. There's a man, I'm not sure if he's still alive, but he conducted surgeries on people such as yourself. It was Dr. Roger Lear. Dr. Roger Lear. If he's still alive, you might want to contact him, because he might actually be able to remove these devices that may or may not be in your head.
I've told you before. The aliens explained to me it's a neurocybernetic implant. They used to put it behind the nose of people, and now they put it in the eyes, and it's made of carbon nanotubes, and they beam energy at it to send in these images. The actual implant over the eyes itself is a type of, it uses the Doppler effect of light, and they blast energy at it to alter the structure of it to give you an image. They're very advanced. Like I said, it's like fucking magic, as the Air Force discusses. And it's also another reason why they say magic eyes only for these things, because these people have chips in their eyes. It's the implant that they're testing on. The cover story was remote viewing. So the entire concept of remote viewing is a cover story in Project Stargate for these implants and interactions with ETs, testing psychic ability and mind reading and everything else. They have these technologies. We have it now for mind reading. We can create an image from an fMRI scan of the brain. So these technologies even exist in the human shape.
Okay, but carbon nanotubes, which, by the way, carbon nanotubes is a pretty primitive technology, as far as I'm concerned. Way better.
Well, there's more to it than that, obviously. They didn't want to tell me exactly how it's made or anything, but it's nanotechnology, very, very advanced, and it's able to maintain shape in my eyes for 4 years now. So it's obviously advanced enough to not be absorbed by the body and rejected and all this other stuff. So I don't know. It's metamaterial shit shoved in my head.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, though, is you could go to a physician. They can X-ray your physiology. They can look for anomalies, and they can remove said anomalies. Go to a doctor.
No, they can't. But there is a procedure called transcranial magnetic stimulation, and it for 30% of schizophrenics that are, quote, voice hearers, they're seeing relief from this. And I believe it's because it short circuits the implant and just stops the telepathy ability. The actual implant itself, it's shock therapy too. Like these beings have been doing. We have records of this dating back to the Gnostic periods. They call them the mind parasites and the archons. It's the same thing. They've been doing this to people for millennia. And you can call it anecdotal or not, but I'm attesting to the efficacy of these technologies. And if these ETs exist, they have it, and they have it in them too.
If this advanced civilization has been doing this for millennia on humans as a form of experiment, don't you think they would have gotten their data by now? I mean,
no, it's a game to them, is what I was saying. That's why when you don't really get. Every time I close my eyes and I ask, "What are you doing this for?" They remote view me an image of a little gray shooting a basketball into a hoop, representing he's playing a game with me. They think it's a.
And two, human society, since it's been on Earth, has evolved immensely from where it started. So you wouldn't want to keep checking in on that. Like, you have, say, a little fucking... I can't even come up with an example for this, but basically, humans aren't the same as they were millenniums ago. So I don't think, depending on what data they're looking for, I don't think they've gotten everything, because we're constantly evolving and constantly changing. So depending on what they're looking for, no.
So, I mean, you say it's a game, but again, you're anthropomorphizing an intelligence that's not human. You're literally anthropomorphizing an intelligence that's not anthropological at all, based off of a subjective and personal experience. I can't accept that. I'm sorry.
That's fine. And again, I'm not here to do that. I'm here to share the story and my ideas of what happened to me and what the interaction with these beings was. Because, again, not tooting my horn, but I'm pretty intelligent. And I can wrap my head around some of the stuff they're doing, tactics and historicals, and I'm able to create the appropriate connections throughout history and not the wild ones. Because the disinformation campaign out there, it's all kinds of goofy shit. Woo-woo science, New Age revolution is a way to cover up a lot of this stuff. It's been going on for a while, and they just haven't. They made a mistake in 1947 with Roswell, man. They made a huge mistake. They should have just released it so we could at least protect ourselves when it happens, instead of letting it ruin people's lives. Because that's all they're doing, is ruining people's lives right now. They might be helping some of these military guys, but they're ruining people's lives.
So this goes into, again, a concept that I talk about a lot, post-resource scarcity. They suppressed it because the ramifications of post-resource scarcity would actually result in over 95% of human beings killing themselves. We know this to be true because of the Mouse Utopia experiment. When humans are given an identical situation, unlike mice, which all kill themselves, only very small, less than 5%, possibly less than 1% of humans will actually not end up killing themselves, either via the hedonic treadmill or full-blown suicide. Either way, suicide be slow or instant.
You hold on to that concept, and that's fine. That's part of your worldview. It'd be nice to let you know that there are other worldviews out there. I mean, it's just what's real and what's not. With some.
How do you know that? Because mice did it? Because rats killed themselves?
Well, I'm not saying. Look, we know this because we also know what happens to people when they're given everything they want. People that win the lottery quite oftentimes destroy themselves. We observe this even in humans. When everybody gets when somebody gets everything they want in life, they die.
I'm gonna need a source
not what
for
Willy
that
Wonka
claim.
told me.
Because
I'm
that
sorry,
doesn't.
what?
I said I'm gonna need a source for that claim, because that doesn't make any sense at all.
Okay, but I'm telling you, people have all too often when they win the lottery, they destroy themselves.
Well, I've brought this up before.
There's a couple that's won the lottery 3 times, destroyed.
There's 3 stages of truth, right? Vehement ridicule, denial, and then it'll become self-evident. This is just one of those stages that we're in, and you're one of the people that is in that ridicule, denial stage, and that's fine. When we have disclosure, people will fully understand, because we're not stupid beings. We'll understand the stuff was going on. It'll be part of whatever treatise has to happen between them. But the truth is, ETs are running around Earth simulating schizophrenia to test on us with, and they pretend to be demons, pretend to be the devil, they pretend to be angels, they'll pretend to be anything they want. There's a saying in the Army, they can you make a conversation with your own personal Jesus. That's why all these gods and around the world throughout history have all looked different and everything else, is because they're projecting images of things that they aren't. They don't land and show their little gray selves and go, hey, what's up? Because we'll beat them the fuck up, or we'll eat them or whatever, because we're monkeys. But, it's not a good story as everybody wants to lay out. And, it's just the truth. There's a saying at CIA, and you shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. This is what's happening on Earth. If you're too scared to admit it, or you're too skeptic to wrap your head around it, that's fine. But that's the
No,
truth. From me, it's the truth.
Don't go insult territory, man.
Yeah, I'm not too skeptic to wrap my head around it. Just the opposite. I'm very open-minded. I'm open-minded to, look, I'm open. What you're positing may be true. It doesn't make sense to me given the information that I have available to me that I can actually track down to credible testimony and records and paperwork and documentation and credible evidence. It doesn't make sense to me given the information that I have available to me. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that given the information I have available to me, I'm going to conclude that you're most likely incorrect. Given
so
the
history.
I have available to me.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. The history of mind control goes back to way farther back than MK Ultra. It's been held in these quote satanic societies for a long time. The Nazis were getting help from other worlds, as their scientists claim. They were doing mind control research with Dr. Mengele, the Angel of Death. There were the Vril Society and the Thule Society channeling interdimensional beings. The first 007 was channeling interdimensional beings. So if all these interactions with these things are anecdotal or not, I'm trying to wrap my head around what I witnessed and viewed based on my understanding of history and what I've seen. So I do know that these beings were helping Nazis, for example. They're doing all stuff all over the world, not just Nazis.
So,
but
how do you know that they weren't channeling them via the use of psilocybin and various other substances?
They weren't. They were long-haired witches sitting around a table channeling them.
You're a long-haired witch.
They were channeling the technology. It's a type of virtual reality, augmented reality through holographic input. They speak in pictures and codes, and they communicate to beings when they're in a state of consciousness. And there's certain people with a higher adept ability of interacting with this technology.
So the only thing I don't understand about you, NSA, is you have the same kind of analytical, critical thinking mind, and Dr. Weir does as well. I'm in the middle. I just incorporate everything, right? My perspective is whether you're mentally ill, whether you're on drugs, whether you're lying, whether you're telling the truth, whether you're pushing propaganda, whether you have a bias, whether you're being honest or sincere, whether you're carried away by anger. It doesn't matter what the source of the information you're giving me is. Like, you might think you're tricking me and being dishonest. You might think you're being sincere. Either way, you could be wrong, right? So you might think you're being sincere, but you're angry. So what you're saying, although sincere, is not really what you think, or vice versa. You could think you're lying, but I know you're lying, so I can tell what you're actually saying. So every source of information has value. The only thing I don't understand about you, NSA, is that you dismiss a whole category of phenomenon. You dismiss magic, the occult, the paranormal, psychic phenomenon, remote viewing, astral projection, God, the devil, angels, demons, this whole class. And you say,
it's a matrix.
Right, but why in a matrix can there not be spirituality? If you remember in the Matrix, Neo was a spiritual figure. The whole thing was a Messiah thing. He walked on water. He was the chosen one.
Not the Matrix. Don't apply it to that. It's a matrix of our own creation and our own storytelling and imaginations. We create these stories to explain what we're witnessing, and then we apply spiritual concepts to it.
You have a very dogmatic latch onto a materialistic perspective. But Dr. Rupert Sheldrake in morphic resonance theory and Sir Roger Penrose's via orchestrated objective reduction theory have actually conducted good scientific testing that has taken their hypothesis into a full-blown theory that indicates very strongly that there are connections, be they quantum, be they Birkeland currents, be they morphic fields, whatever you want to call them. There are connections that exist at a pure energetic level, not a materialistic level, that break causality and that break a lot of your axiomatic assumptions.
Well, I just don't believe in the spirit aspect of all these things, Matt. And what the ETs told me specifically was we were the influence of a cult. In the past, this was known as magic because they're mind reading with holograms. And if you can have mind reading with holograms, you can see what the person's thinking, and they'll think something into existence in a hologram and think they're a wizard or some shit. I've seen it. Apparently, I'd be a wizard I'd be fucking Merlin back in the day type shit. Like, they're reading my mind. I'm thinking about an apple. I think about an apple in my hand, and then they flash a hologram in it. And I'm like, holy shit,
But are you not doing the same thing with aliens? I think that was Shogun's original point. How do you dismiss all these other things?
Well,
the CIA doing it. Like, Dr. Weird posits it being man-made. Shogun's opening the possibility of it being spiritual. And you're saying, no, it's these unattested
Well, I'm not saying it's man-made or not man-made. I'm saying that all of the above could be true, and there's no reason to assume or lock oneself into any one explanation when
Right.
multiple explanations could be true, and in fact, multiple explanations could be true at the same time. The existence of one does not preclude the existence of the other.
Okay, well, there's a lot of experiences out there, and I'm just sharing mine. So if you want to, reach into my head about it, because I have a pretty firm grasp. I've also, again, I've had the opportunity for the last several years, monetarily, to sit around and research these things and make the appropriate connections, because I have a unique experience, being that I am one that has been an experiencer. I don't go woo-woo science about it, obviously, and I don't. Part of the program itself is to literally guide you down into the esoteric and hermeticism and mysticism, because the technology can mimic these things, and that keeps that person trapped in this little Illuminati bullshit world. So there are people out there that are in the quote Illuminati that have experienced this crazy shit and think they're magicians or sorcerers, and it exists because these beings convince them of it.
So this is actually one of the things that you posit, is that they actually encourage people to do things like LSD and psilocybin to, put them down on a path that gets them trapped to woo-woo and pseudoscience. Yet at the same time, these substances are illegal. So this is a conflict of interest.
So it breaks part of that's the thing. They could not have foreseen psychedelic drugs shattering the consciousness that it did, because it lets you think outside the box. It makes you understand you have more connection to everything that these spirits and everything else is not. And the technology is visible, and you can, again, because it's mind reading, you can control it under the influence. You can have conversations with these beings. That's why Alex Jones in his last podcast talks about there's drug cults, around the world taking drugs and talking to these interdimensional beings. Well, what they're doing is they're taking these drugs. These ETs are following these drug cults, and they're messing around with people when they're under the influence, and they're influencing them. And then they say, tell everybody about this, because they want people to believe in the spiritual side still. That's the whole advent of the New Age revolution. But the truth of the matter is it's all technological. And no, I've never done DMT technically. I've done LSD and mushrooms, but...
Well, I'm going to go back to the original. So, I mean, assuming these are intelligent beings from other worlds, why are they coming to a planet to learn from us when we're barely evolved from apes?
Oh, because they're just playing with people because anthropomorphize them.
I answered this already. We literally had a whole class.
No, well, why they're doing it, I don't know. The ETs told me they're descendants of the empire builders, so they only live to be 500 years old, they told me. And so that means that whoever was building pyramids back in the day, thousands of years ago, Atlantean stuff with humans, that's their great-grandfathers type stuff. So they see themselves as caretakers, archons. They play good and evil, demons and angels. They consider the planet Earth. It's like South Park. It's like a TV show for them. They got nothing better to do. It's their mission to see that we don't get out of hand. I don't know. Like, a lot more stuff started happening once we got nukes, if you recall. There's army discussions of them knocking nukes out of the sky because they don't want us to destroy ourselves, so they can keep playing empire builders with us. That's all I can imagine is their agenda.
NSA, if you think that they are purposely trying to get people to do drugs to get them down fake paths and all those kind of things, then why is it when they tell you information like, we live to be about 500 years old, that take that at face value?
It could be a lie. It could be a lie. They told me the ET was 280 years old, lives to be about 500 is their age expectancy. Their culture is 15 million years old. They had a culture 26 CE, as they call it, because they talk in code just to fuck with you, before they developed artificial intelligence and became a symbiote. They consider this species a symbiotic relationship with technology. So they have a sentient, highly intelligent artificial intelligence that basically MK Ultras them from birth to program them into an authoritarian type regime with their biological life. So they're caretakers of their system. Now, this is just one type of alien. I don't know about the others, but this is one type. And sure, some of it could be a lie. Dude, I could be in a dream right within a dream. This could be fucking Inception. I don't know, dude. But you know what? I'm explaining what I've seen and experienced based on my knowledge of the subject and my family's history and masonry and military.
No, but you're making statements about this is, I know this because they told me, and at the same time making other claims like, and these are the lies they try and tell people. It just seems like a lot of things are being told to you or shown to you, and you
So,
are selectively filtering out what is a lie, what you believe, and I'm not really understanding what standard you're using to
their
figure that out.
communication, their communication with the artificial intelligence when they communicate, uh, it gaslights you. They try and create a synthetic reality for you. And there is discussions of this in the Gnostics. They try and create synthetic realities for people by changing truths for them. So they could be lying about many things. Um, it is true that that's what they think they can do. There's a abduction report on Reddit I just read where they abducted the guy and told him that they do weave reality for us and all this other crap, trying to spread that story. They feed on our loosh, our fear and all this other bullshit, hocus pocus crap.
I mean, the problem that you're having, the problem that you're having is none of this would hold up in a court of law under evidentiary standards. That you're going to have to come with more.
No, that's not a problem I'm having. We're not in a court. I'm not on trial here. This is a discussion to discuss what I believe about ETs, or actually it's a podcast to discuss random stuff. But, you can take all this with a grain of salt and put it in your heads and churn it over and, come to your own conclusions if you think I'm crazy or not, and that's fine. I don't really mind. It's not going to be any sweat off.
Well, presumably you're saying this to encourage others to not come to your conclusion, but at least explore the issue. And I think I can't speak for others, but for me, I'm going to need like scientific data, peer-reviewed papers that discuss this more, rather than this is my personal experience, which is important, but that alone is not going to reach the standard that a lot of us are looking for.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, dude, if you want to believe predictive programming and stuff on TV and all the stuff that's going out there, that's fine. What was I going to say? I just don't like seeing people abused by them, and I know it's happening, and we're covering it up for them. So we as a culture are going to have to rise up and assess and address this situation. And these technologies they're sharing with humans, they're going to use it for poor intentions because power corrupts in humanity. They're not going to fucking sit here and be the good guys.
All the more reason though to have something that would hold up in a court of law that would convince most people.
Well, I don't see it my mission on Earth to spread this.
If that's what you believe.
Well, again, this is just.
You think you. It's the same problem I have with conspiracy theories. So it's like, you tweet about Bush did 9/11, and your next tweet is like your experience at Schnippers in New York. It's like, if you actually believe this, you'd be in the streets. So it just tells me that you're.
And that's part of the disinfo.
I'm talking about hold on. I'm talking about the conspiracy theory. It's like, pick your conspiracy theory. Like, to me, it's just an expression of powerlessness. Like, this is your tied way to just explain the world, then you shrug and move off. Because if you really thought what you say you're thinking, it would be the mission of your life. Like, we would have a revolution. The government would be putting you down. In a similar manner, not really you, because you're.
They are pulling Foya on me.
But it's like, if you actually thought that this way lies damnation. This way.
They are, by the way.
You can't shrug and be like, well, this is. You can't in the same breath say what you've said and then say, well, whatever. This is just what I think with my brain. It is.
So they are. You keep cutting out, but so. They are surprised. Pull a FOIA on me anytime. You'll see that I'm being heavily investigated and affected by these people. So they monitor and keep the alien contactees as an interest of national security and all this other crap. If you don't join them and all this stuff. Well, and to the disinformation, like, so they want to tie alien discussion to all kinds of other goofy stuff, and that's the whole theory. Like, anybody who a real experiencer that wants to talk about it. You can't tell what's real because there's so many goofballs telling lies like Emery Smith and Corey Good that you don't know what's really real anymore. And they befuddle the whole marketplace and everything else. And then they want to tie me to, like, I'm an anti-vaxxer now or some shit. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I don't believe in a lot of conspiracies, actually. I'm actually very grounded in reality. I'm actually very skeptic. But because of my experiences, the only thing I have is this alien side. It affects everything, and it is a global thing. It is a universal galactic thing, like it's exopolitics and everything else. I'm not trying. I also don't want to divulge this into like an hour-long grilling me about it.
But it's like if you're trying to convince others, and you're only able to pick out one piece of evidence, and this had to be your best. What would you go? What now would you turn to?
Dude, see, that's another silly question. There's 70 years of go watch The Dark Journalist for a little while and see what he is actual.
Well, he's asking about you though.
Yeah, I don't have evidence, dude. I don't have all I got is my experiences. I have the paperwork I've shown you of PSYOPs developed by the Army. I have shown you these technologies exist. There's 160,000 targeted individuals discussing EMF weapons experimentation. There's China, all these other countries talking about it. So it's not.
Well, that shreds Queen's point when she was going it, just trying to give Dr. Weird a colonoscopy, saying it's not just your. Oh, she's gone. Never mind. Talk about someone who's not here. But fair enough.
If you want to be taken more seriously, talk about things you can prove. Talk about things that even if you can't prove, that you can point to being probable to the evidence you have available.
I don't care about being taken seriously or whatever. I don't have anything to prove, is my point. This is a conspiracy discussion about things, and this is a podcast.
Yeah, and this is where I want to say something about this, because people will say sometimes in this channel, I don't accept your line of argument. I don't accept that things derive from the Quran, right? So I have Muslims come in here and they say, oh, well, the Quran says in Hadith this, or in Sunnah this, or in fucking Quran this. And people say, well, I don't accept the Quran, but I accept all sources of information. I want to know what your Quran says. I want to know what it means to you, and then what it means to me, and what it means to everybody else. I don't have to accept your pretense to value from your information. Same thing if somebody says I'm schizophrenic, or they're schizophrenic, but they say a bunch of shit. I'll still be like, okay, this information is coming from a schizophrenic. And they're like, I looked in the sky and I saw the devil in the clouds, and he smiled at me and told me, son, you're going to split the moon in half on date December 29, 2029. I'm like, okay. So this crazy ass person somehow got this intel. How do I reverse engineer it to actually derive something meaningful from this? And someone can come and lie to me and say, Shogun, this, that. And I know they're lying, but I can still tell because they're lying, their information is actually even better than truth. Because it not only is it they're giving me intel, but they're giving me intel from a compromised position where they think they're fooling me, but actually I already see what they're doing, so I can play them out. So the point is, whether you're lying, telling the truth, whether you're right, whether you're wrong, whether you're smart, whether you're stupid, whether you're crazy, whether you're sane, all your intel is valuable. So that's why I never accept people like, oh, I don't accept this source. This is not a credible evidential source. There is no credible source. Everyone has a bias, and people derive their truth from different places. You need to be mentally flexible enough to process all intel from the mentally ill, from liars, from propagandists, from ideologues, from fanatics, from Muslims, from Christians, from Jews and atheists, from Satanists. You don't need to accept a person's pretense to process their data analytically. And people literally think they have like a gate of their mind that they have to defend. Like, this doesn't pass my thing, I won't let you in. No, let it all in, then test it, and then kill the things that are bad and throw them out. But sift. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? So everything NSA is saying is in some way true. I know that. Now, whether it actually applies to him personally, I'm skeptical. But that what he says is true generally is certainly true. There is electromagnetic weapons, there is UFOs, there is aliens, there is the CIA, there is PSYOPs, there was MK Ultra, there is the voice of God technology. All this shit exists. Whether or not it affects him, or he's just suffering from, quote unquote, suffering from schizophrenia or whatever, doesn't really matter. His intel is right. His personal experience is his personal experience, and therefore that's also right. So he's right on both the objective level that this shit exists and the subjective level that this is what he's experiencing. He's not lying to us. He's not trolling. He's not LARPing. He's not joking. And he's not wrong. So I very, very value his intel because he has this weird perspective, which is both empirically grounded in evidence and completely subjective and unique. So you don't have to accept it.
Okay, but when I questioned how he knew that this vision is a lie and this vision is the truth and so on and so forth. I wasn't saying, oh, I reject your evidence. I was wondering how he distinguished between them based upon his perceptions, because he had clearly come to conclusions that certain things were lies and certain things were the truth. And so without going against his standard for evidence, I was trying to understand his thought process for how he determined which visions to believe and which visions not to.
I have an analytical.
And that's the thing. It's like he obviously. I mean, Shogun is right. Like everyone, there's not. Everything comes from something. Is the term that historians use for myth. It's like nothing is just pulled out of someone's ass. There's a kernel of truth in everything. But at the same time, if, like, for instance, Druish said, okay, well, how do you determine it? And then the other person shrugs and says, well, this is just my subjective opinion. Well, that's only 1/3 of what Shogun was talking about, which comes into the other aspects. So it's like, there is a CIA, there is there are psyops, there's all that. But if someone tries to weave all that into a narrative,
when this finishes up,
then of course people are going to be like, okay, well, show me why you think that.
Yeah, there's about 100+ people discussing military lab abduction scenarios, all kinds of other stuff. So I mean, there's a lot of other folks talking about their experiences and what happened to them. But yeah, I mean, I have an analytical mind. I'm pretty sharp. I'm up on geopolitics, history, science, etc. So I have a good way of, like I said, the unique perspective and ability to sift through. I also know the CIA very well. I know how disinformation and mind control works. I've done a lot of research on this and experienced it myself to deconstruct a lot of it. So I know how crafty and goofy these people can be, and even the media, and et cetera. And I do know how mass mind control works and all this stuff. So what did Casey say? Like, when the American people believe a lie, we've done our job. So there's a big campaign within the intelligence community for these things, because it's an interest of national security. I don't know if there's some underlying agenda to it, but I think there is, obviously. But
what if I told you that if there's an underlying agenda, then the agenda is to make people fear an extraterrestrial intelligence, and we can observe this through Hollywood, media, propaganda, etc., when in fact they really shouldn't have no reason to.
Yeah, no, there is, and that's one thing Greer's trying to fight, is this fear porn campaign that they would have. And I would like it if they weren't malevolent either, but I think they're so alien they don't understand the harm they do to us sometimes. You know what I mean? I would like to assume, but as any, what's the term, pragmatic human would want, I don't want death and destruction. I don't want all these things. I'm just going off of what I've observed and what they've been pretending to do and be. And I just know this world is not sunshine and fucking rainbows, and there's a lot of shitheads out there, and they might have listened to all the wrong shitheads for 70 years, and who knows. Discussions and talks about the aviary in the Air Force, the Majestic group. There's some of those guys are good, some of them are fucking really shitheads. So that comes out in modern times, and we have to live with the sins of our fathers that wanted to cover up.
Well, I'll say this much: an alien's never hurt me, and people have hurt the shit out of me. So I'll take my chances with the aliens.
Yeah, and that's what I told them. I'm like, dude, I'm sure if you were just kind and didn't freak people out and didn't play this fucking game with everybody, that you'd be able to communicate with humans a lot easier without this fear porn that's thrown out there. But they're goofballs, man. They're sentient and individual, they claim. They're just like a little fat suit sitting in outer space,
NSA, what was that documentary you told me to watch?
The Minds of Men, by True Stream Media. I don't know if that one's on mind control and CIA research on the histories of it, and they do a very by True Stream Media, Minds of.
Well, to be honest, this was a really good podcast, and I think we'll do this format from now on, rather than have specific guests. Anyone of mod rank and above will be unmuted, and we'll start that way, and then we'll unmute non-mods after when we're ready, because this is very, very good. However, it's been almost 2.5 hours, so perhaps we should wrap it up. And we will be recording at least one more episode tomorrow, so if anyone wants to get in on that, please do. Very, very interesting, I thought. So hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And anyone who is recording, thank you for recording. This will be uploaded on the Roundtable Discord server in the recorded Roundtable original content channel. It'll be on the YouTube channel, and it will be on the podcast channel on Podbean and Podcast Addict. Join us on the Roundtable Discord server. Thank you, everybody. Dr. Weird, NSA, Surprise, Machina for recording, Queen, everybody for being here. That being said, thank you very much. Let's jump back down to the regular Roundtable channel, and we'll get this shit uploaded.